Pledge of Allegiance. If we could all stand, the flag is behind you in the audience. Okay, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item B, approval of a flexible agenda. Okay, motion made by Rob. I need a second. Second by Carrie. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Item 2 on our agenda is consent items. Okay. Does anyone want anything pulled from the consent? Yeah, I think she can. It's an agenda, member of the audience. Could you come up to the microphone for us, please, and state your name for the record? You're on.
Ini Shizuru.
Go ahead.
I'd like the minutes of the special board meeting of November 22nd, 2021 to be pulled from the consent calendar.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from anyone else? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the rest of the consent items?
I make a motion to approve the consent items with the exception of board meeting minutes from November 22nd, 2021 board meeting.
Okay, motion was made. Would anyone like to second it? Second by Heather. Okay, any comments? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Excuse me. So let's go back to item B, the special minutes of the special board meeting. Jeannie, would you like to come forward and explain why you'd like these pulled? It's on. It's
Jeannie
Yeah,
Shizuru.
right there.
I was thinking that the speech that Keith Lewis gave on Paul Jensen and his video was left out of the minutes. And so I would like that to be added to the minutes of that meeting. And I would like it to be added where it belongs, right before the vote. And I have provided Superintendent Lewis and your attorney and all of you a copy of the verbatim transcript of that speech that Keith Lewis gave at that time. And those verbatim words are what I would like added to the minutes.
okay, but I have just a question. You got these off of our minutes, right, that are recorded? Is that how you got these? Is that how you came across it, made this document?
Yes, I watched your video and I transcribed it.
Okay. And you don't feel that's good enough, just that we tape all of our meetings?
Well, you left the speech that Keith Lewis gave was not even mentioned in the minutes. It was completely ignored. You know, if you read your minutes and you see what is right before the vote, which happened to be Keith Lewis's speech, that's not what your minutes say. They don't say anything about that speech. And so I am absolutely trying to add the verbatim speech right there.
Okay. Any questions or comments from our board about this? Okay, go ahead. Trustee Lehman?
Our meeting minutes don't ever put in verbatim speeches on anything. If you go back and look at them, I'm not against adding something to the minutes to reflect that Mr. Lewis responded to the video. But I'd like to hear what our council has to say about this.
I mean, as a public body, you can paraphrase how you see fit. There's no obligation to do a transcript. You would never have a transcript as your minutes. That's why you have a video. So if anyone wants to suggest, or maybe Ms. Shiruzu, if you have a one sentence thing that you want to suggest, I think that could be considered, but
Well, first I want to disagree with that no minutes ever have verbatim. It's quite common, even the Board of County Commissioners do their minutes verbatim, and they didn't used to. And in the past, when they didn't used to do it, if somebody on the board said, let's stop right here and start and take the minutes verbatim, and for a little while that would happen, and then they would lift it. So the idea that it is verbatim or isn't verbatim happens all the time as necessary.
Our board has not engaged in that practice in the past.
Okay, well,
I understand that there are other
There's-
boards,
There's not,
hundreds, if not thousands of them that have different policies and ways they do things. But the way our board does it, we've never done that in the past. And we put our videos online for everybody to see the whole thing. And I'm satisfied with that.
yeah, there's nothing in the statutes that say you have to put a verbatim transcript in as your minutes. That's why you have both the availability of the recording, and then you have the written minutes, which is summarizes what happened at the meeting that you guys approve. So it's you as a public body can approve it how you see fit. You can add a sentence describing it. You can do whatever, but there's nothing that requires a verbatim dialogue or transcript that to be put in the minutes.
is there anything that prevents it?
No, it's up to the board.
Okay, thank you, Jeannie. So I guess what we have to do is to approve item B, or someone can make a motion, or,
Could I have a question?
of course.
Jeannie,
ahead, Doug.
what do you hope to gain by having this in the minutes?
I have put forward an open meeting law violation on the November 22nd meeting, that the speech that Superintendent Keith Lewis made on Paul Jensen and his video was not in accordance with the NRS, where you are supposed to pre-notify by personally serving 5 days ahead anytime that you talk about somebody personally. And clearly the speech, that's why I transcribed it, clearly the speech that Superintendent Lewis gave violated that. He had not alerted Paul Jensen in any way that he was going to be the subject of one of the agenda items. So it's very important to me that not only the board recognized that we were all here when Keith Lewis gave that speech, but we all know what was said. You can see it in the video, but if you see the transcript, I'm sure it will sound familiar to you. And I want the Attorney General's office to note that you left that out of your minutes, specifically the part where Keith Lewis made a speech about Paul Jensen and his video. I have amended my December 1st open meeting law violation to state that your minutes do not include it, and that I have urged you to add the transcription of his speech. So they also have the ease of looking at the speech itself without having to find it on the video, which of course they will do, because that's what they do when they investigate open meeting law violations. But they will have the ability to know that I absolutely tried to get it into your transparent and public record. Now, I know that Keith Lewis was very keen on setting the record straight for the public and the community. So I would actually think that to have the verbatim words that he said on that day would be a blessing to him, because he really earnestly, sincerely seemed to want to set the record straight. And I don't think there's any better way than to have his very words in your public record on those minutes.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion to add.
Oh, hey, we have another question. Doug, can you hold on? I'll let you go ahead and make your motion.
All
I'm
right.
gonna, Trustee Lehman has his hand up. Is that okay?
I'm not going to make a motion, Doug.
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'd just like to make a motion that we.
Doug, hang on a minute. We have more questions
All
before we
right,
do that.
sorry.
Okay? No, that's okay. Thank you for your patience.
This is back to our council. The NRS, Ms. Shaziro's alluding to or referencing NRS 241-033 or 031 says a meeting to consider character, misconduct, competence elected board member or of a, I guess, 033 of the employee. Seems to me like that was put in place to, if the board was gonna make a decision based on somebody, to give somebody a review to to decide whether to discipline them. Do you know of any situations where a complaint has been made about something along these lines, where something like this has happened, where it wasn't the intent of the board to consider the character, misconduct, competence, or health of a person, or consider the appeals or resource of examination? It wasn't their intent to do that, but somebody's name came up and their actions came up and that was described. Do you know how that's gone and how that ended?
Well, there's a body of case law and the statute has changed over the years. But the current, I guess the short answer is no, I don't have any personal experience with that fact pattern. I have read cases, there is a body of case law on that. And the current statute actually says casual or tangential references to a person or the name of a person during a meeting do not constitute consideration of the character, alleged misconduct, professional competence, or physical or mental health of the person. So, I mean, to me, I think that's something that the Attorney General can look at and figure out what they want to, how they want to see it. So,
And the Attorney General, when he investigates or his office investigates, will look at our own website of our own video that we published for the
Yeah.
whole public to see.
assuming they take it under advisement to investigate, they a lot of times you never hear about it because they don't take it up as an investigation. I don't want to say a lot of times, but I've heard through it before that
Understood.
it's really discretionary for the Attorney General's office.
Thank you.
So,
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, Doug, go ahead and make your motion now, please.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we add the statements by Keith Lewis, Superintendent Keith Lewis, into the meeting for the November board meeting.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Does anyone want to second it? Okay, does anyone want to make another motion or do we need, go ahead, Rob?
Mr. Lewis, is there something, would you prefer something?
Yeah, I have no objection that, again, we don't do verbatim minutes. I'd hate to take that precedence, but I have no objection that we bring it back and acknowledge that I made a statement. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that.
I think the problem with Mr. Engelkirk's motion is that he may want to just like write a sentence to add insert in there, and then you guys can all consider it and decide whether to add it in or not. I think just saying to generically what he said is that's a tough motion to. It really doesn't give our clerk guidance on what to insert in a minute. So if someone wants to actually write something up, they have to do it that way.
Okay.
Make a motion to table this issue until after 5:30 public comment, at which time we might have something written up that we could talk about.
Okay, motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any public comment? State your name for the record, please.
David Nelson. I think that Mr. Lewis made it very clear that this was to set the record straight. And I think all records should be set straight. So I think that in this case, in order to set the record straight, that his comments about setting the record straight should be included in these minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Anyone else have anything to say? Anyone on the board? Okay, we'll go ahead, trustee.
I'd just like to say that in this case, there could be that possibility to include that, but if we keep moving forward with inclusion, it is on record. And if we continue to, if we're going to write up our verbatim minutes, then that's going to be a big endeavor by our clerical staff. And I don't think it's necessary. Again, related to this particular instance, there's a possibility, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I got my hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Doug.
Well, I mean, if this is going to be an open meeting violation that the Attorney General is going to look at, I think having it in the meeting, in the minutes, is certainly not unreasonable. And if you want me to, I mean, we have it quoted in Jeannie's letter, the verbatim what was said. So if you want, after the 5:30 meeting, I could certainly come around and make a more clear motion if that's makes sense, but I don't see a problem in putting it in the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Jeannie?
I just wanted to add that one of the reasons for wanting it verbatim is because I do feel that Superintendent Lewis did impugn the character and the integrity of Paul Jensen to say he didn't follow up with us, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he had this chance, he had that chance. I thought that those were a whole series of comments that could be considered derogatory to Paul Jensen's character. So I don't think the actual speech that Keith Lewis said fits the tangential, irrelevant, kind of inconsequential reference to Paul Jensen. It specifically mentioned things that Keith Lewis did not think that Paul Jensen had done properly before he published his video.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we have a motion on the floor, and was there a second?
Yes.
I
Is there a
second
second, okay. Yes. Okay, thank you. And who is it? Okay, go ahead and bring it to Virginia, please.
Hello, can you see me?
I can hear you. I'm looking for you.
Well, it's okay if you don't see me.
Okay, go ahead, Virginia. State your
I
name
was-
for the record.
Virginia Starrett.
Thank you.
I was just going to actually comment in the same way that Ms. Shizuru just did. When I read those comments and saw the video, I also felt that Superintendent Lewis had made some remarks about Paul Jensen, and that Paul Jensen was not given advance notice that he was going to be the subject of the board in that derogatory way, or those kinds of claims made against him. And he did not really have an adequate opportunity to address those claims that were being made against him in that meeting. And so I do think it's important that those remarks be noted, far more than just say recess, which is what was listed on the minutes now. It just says a recess was taken, and that really is not an honest way of saying what happened at that moment in time in that meeting. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, anyone else before we take a vote? Okay, let's go. Sure, Karen?
You can't hear.
You need a mic.
Mr. Lehman made a motion to table this item until after the 5:30 public comment, at which time we can have something written up, seconded by Mr. Kangas.
Okay. Are we ready for a vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you. We'll revisit that public comment. All right, moving on. Item number 3 is introduction and special recognition by Mr. Joe Gerdner.
Thank you, President Gilkerson, members of the board. Happy snowy Tuesday afternoon. It's my privilege to introduce a couple new supervisors that we have within the district. The first person I'd like to introduce is Melissa Mckinney. Melissa, would you stand up so we can all put eyes on you? Melissa started working for DCSD in the facilities department in 2018. During her time in the facilities department, she worked diligently to improve customer service, office organization, contractor vendor relationships. Another area that Melissa improved upon in the facilities department was improved follow-up and completion of work orders for our district. Every summer, if you wanted to find Melissa, you could go to any one of our schools where she diligently walked with our fire inspector for many, many days to ensure that our schools were safe for our staff and students. Melissa is now moving into our school nutrition program where she will be the new school nutrition coordinator. Congratulations, Melissa, on your new position. We're excited to have you there, and we know you will be amazing in that new role.
Congratulations.
And then the next individual that I would like to introduce is Mark Rhodes. Mark, if you would stand up. Mark has started working for the Douglas County School District as the campus safety monitor at Douglas High School in 2015. I can honestly speak for Mark for hours, having worked with him here at Douglas High for that entire time. Mark's responsibilities in that role was to monitor the campus, supervise students, enforce school rules, and ensure the campus was safe. And I will say that those positions are not always loved by students, but Mark quickly became one of the most loved and respected staff members at DHS. He literally knew every student by name at Douglas High, which is an amazing feat with 1,700 kids. Not only did he know every student by name, but he had the ability to identify them from a grainy surveillance video when their back was turned to the camera. Mark is now the transportation coordinator for Douglas County School District. He will be missed at Douglas High School by staff and students, but we know you'll do great in this position. Thank you, Mark, and congratulations.
Mark is already getting used to getting up at what, 4 a.m. and waking me up at about 4:45.
All right. Thank you. Congratulations. Is that it for the recognition? All right. Thanks, Joe. Next is Nevada Association of School Boards, or NASB. Heather, I guess I'll turn it over to you first.
Okay. So this past week, I had the opportunity to present to the State Board of Education as part of NASB. It was part of NRS 385.040, where they like to have the superintendents and school boards present to them. I guess it's once a year. And they had asked us to share our district goals and successes and our concerns, and then also how we are working to accomplish the 2 goals that they have set for the state of Nevada. And so I want to quickly just share what those 2 goals are. This was in July of this year that they came up with these. And so the first one is to move Nevada from the top 20 to the top 10. It says move up in the state rankings from 18th in September of 2020 to the top 10 by July of 2026, as measured by academic portions of the Quality Counts K-12 student achievement. And just really quickly, I want to tell you, when I heard that, I was like, what are they talking about? We're not in the top 20. We're not number 18. And I asked, and we looked into it, and Rami helped me, and we looked it up. And if you go to edweek.org and you look at the Quality Counts K through 12, as they rank the states, they actually break it up into 3 categories. They break it up into chance for success, school finance, and K-12 achievement. And they take those 3 scores and they put them together, and that's how we are 49th. But if you look at K-12 achievement, Nevada is number 18. And I was very impressed with that, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The achievement is taken by, they look at AP scores, so advanced placement scores. They look at math and reading scores, and high school graduation. So those are the things that go into achievement. But I think that's something to look at and be proud of, that the state of Nevada is doing well. Yes, we need to work on the chance for success, and we need to work on school finance. I just wanted to briefly just let you know that the chance for success, that has to deal with parent income, parent education, parent employment, the enrollment of students from preschool all the way through college, and certain benchmarks, and then the income and employment those same kids get as adults after they've gone through our school system. So I just wanted to share that. The other goal they have is to increase the overall number of students receiving the college and career ready diploma from 23.9% in July of 2021 to 50% by July of 2026, and eliminate gaps of student groups while raising the overall average. So those are goals that we're going to be working towards. I did just want to share how I guess I would say I enjoyed presenting to the state board.
It was kind of partial virtual, partial in person. It was kind of different. It was, and I felt a little bit inadequate being there, but I just want to say that I really was impressed with our State Board of Education. They listened to our concerns. We talked about the concerns of communication from the state level. We talked about attracting and retaining teachers and staff and how we need people in positions. And of course, we talked about funding. And they were very willing to, what can we do? How can we work together? And we talked a lot about focusing on a partnership of how we can work together as districts and as the state school and Board of Education to really help increase the achievement of our students. And so I really enjoyed that opportunity to meet them.
Does anyone have any questions for Heather?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Doug.
Heather, so basically we're 18th in the state and the one that talks about academic standards, but the other ones that have to do with the financial ability of parents or the potential for students, if I understand right, is put into the equation as well?
Yes, that's exactly right. If you look at funding at a state level, we are way below the national average. And that comes at, like I said, from the state, of how much we fund per pupil. We are way below. And then the other thing they looked at with that is, are some students funded more than others? And so there's such a discrepancy, which I know they're changing. They're trying to change with the pupil-centered funding, which, but so those things come into play. So yes, it's kind of that everyone's getting around the same amount, each student is getting around the same amount, and how much each student is getting. And we're so far below in that. And then the other part, yes, is about what the parents do. Like if they are educated, what kind of employment they have, those all go into some of the things where we're behind.
So it seems to me that we're working from a behind the eight ball type position here because of the funding that we get and perhaps parents' lack of whatever, so that these numbers actually would be even better. So actually academically, our kids are doing pretty well, is what it sounds like to me.
Yes, and that's exactly what I saw from that. It just made me feel like we have amazing students and we have amazing teachers that are working with a lot less than other states are working with and are getting great results. So yes, Doug, I completely agree. I just thought it made it it was just amazing to see that we have some great education things happening in the state of Nevada.
Thanks. Any other questions for Heather? Heather, I want to say thank you very much. You kind of took over for what I needed to do, but me being gone, but you stepped in and you did a great job. And I just really appreciate you doing that. I know then you went a step ahead and volunteered, one of three, to go ahead and actually do a presentation, which, that's pretty awesome. And I appreciate that.
I just want to add just briefly to just the fact I really enjoyed I was on a call with a lot of the presidents from the different districts,
Right.
part of NASB, and I really enjoyed that. And we had a little form we had to fill out and talked about the different goals and the different successes and the different struggles we've had in the past year, and just to work together with different districts and to see some of the same things happening, see some of the different things happening. That it really made me excited to work with other districts to see things that are going on and how much power we can have when we all work together. That I kind of enjoyed, getting to know some of those other people too.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Because that was put on by NASB, right? Deb
Right,
Oliver
yeah.
put all that together. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So what happens next? Is there another step after that?
NASB they had asked us, what can we do better for communication? They had talked about they want to get the districts and the State Board of Education together to go to the legislature for more funds. And so they were going to work with Dr. Deb Oliver to work on how they're going to communicate better with the districts and then what we can do combined to really work to get better funding for our education in Nevada.
Awesome. Thank you. I should have presented my stuff first from NASB because it's not as happy as yours was. Some of you may know that there was a letter written by the National School Board of Association, NSBA, which gets confused with our NASB, but the president of that had written a letter, and I think that's where that negative comments came out about calling parents terrorists or something like that. I didn't actually see the letter myself, but when we met with up at the lake at the conference, the one that Tony went to and Carrie and myself, I met with the other directors and executive committee, and we talked about the letter and what we wanted to do about it, because we did not support it. Some states are dropping out of the National Association. We talked about it and we decided that since our dues are paid up till June, we were going to just sit back and wait, see what happens, see if there's going to be some changes made at the top of the national level. In your packets is a letter written from our president and our past president to Dr. John Heim, I believe is how you say his name, and Viola Garcia, letting them know that we were unhappy with what happened and we expect some change. And then we received a letter back that's also in your packet from those people. So basically, we're just kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen, if there's going to be some changes. The National School Board Association has been around, it started 40 years ago, in fact. And so it's a well-recognized association. It has over 40 years. You build lots of connections and things like that. So it would be hard. Some, like I said, some states, there's a few that have dropped out and are looking to start another association. We're not ready to do that today. But like I said, we're waiting to see. And if something changes, I will let you know on that event. Okay. Yes. Go ahead, Doug.
I will say that Deb Oliver, that's the name of the state head of our NASB, right?
He's our executive director, correct?
Right. He did make some comments supportive of the letter, or at least jokingly approving of it, which I had some strong words with her via email because I did not think that was appropriate at all. So I'm a little concerned about our local district if they're supporting that at all. So just wanted the board to be aware of
Right.
that. I saw her comments. when that came
Yeah,
out.
she did reference some Saturday Night Live thing or something, I believe. That probably wasn't the best move. I agree with you on that. But we're working with her closely. I think hopefully we'll be on the right track, and I hope things, that all of this with the national board as well as with our local. I don't know. I've been impressed with the last conference we went to. I thought it was well done. Gave us lots of information. And then with her pulling together, like what Heather just went through, that was all our association as well that put that together. So yeah, I understand what you're saying about that, and you have a right to your opinion. I just happen to think that they're moving in the right direction, is my opinion. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to board reports, and I will start. Heather, can I start with you again? Do you mind?
Sure.
On the horn.
Okay, it's been a busy month. There's been a lot of great things going on, and it's been fun to be a part of that. I went to Minden Elementary School for their cardboard creations, and that was really neat. I loved the creativity and the ownership the kids took in it, as they would tell you about the things that they had built, and then how they would support each other, and they would it was a really fun thing. So I enjoyed that. I also went to the one-act plays that were put on by DHS, and they were student directed, and the group that won, I'm sorry, I don't remember the student director's name, but they get to go on to Reno, and they will go against other schools in that area. And if they win that one, they go on to Vegas. But I was very impressed. It was really neat to see the plays. There were two different groups that had, two different directors that had directed plays, and they all did a great job. And so that was really neat. I also came to the open house for PAC, which is Partnership with Adult Continuing Education.
Partners across the community.
Oh, Partners Across the Community. Thank you. I was trying to figure out PAC. Partners Across the Community. And that was with some students, special needs students, and how they're working within the community. And they did amazing. They were the ones showing us around and telling us the things they're learning and the things they're doing within the community. And we were very impressed. And one of those kids, you can ask him any president, he can tell you, can say, who was the 12th president? And he will tell you who he was and how he died and what he was doing. And they were really fun, really neat. We really enjoyed that. And I also did the DHS instructional walks and really enjoyed being able to go in the classroom and talk to some kids and see the work that's going on and what the teachers are doing. So it was a lot of fun.
You've
Oh,
been
and
busy.
sorry, one more thing, the Pawalu Art Night, and I'm hoping Carrie will talk more about that.
Thank you. Let me go up to our, Doug, do you have anything that you want to talk about for board reports?
I just was going to say Heather and I both went to the grading committee meeting, and I'd say we have our hands full there trying to come up with whatever the previous board required us to do. So
All righty.
thanks for that.
Thanks, Doug. Ross, do you have anything you want to add?
Other than we had a couple of expulsions that I was in on, and that's all I did for the month.
That's enough. That's good. Thank you. That's all I did. How about you, trustee Magnata? Do you have anything to report?
The National Association of School Board Convention was really, really good. And I thought that the breakout sessions were very well done, and it enlightened me about a lot of things. So I would advise everybody, if we have another convention, to go to it.
Thank you. Trustee Kangas?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Magnata completely. And, you know, I make a comparison to the training we get with PullPack, which is great stuff, but the speakers you're introduced to and the breakout sessions are so much more enlightening. And I've been to it for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's just a great thing. Some of the highlights that I can talk about on the conference was that there were 3 keynote speakers. They were accomplished, experienced, successful educators. They are, not that we don't have them here in Douglas County, but it's just a different, different part of the country that we're getting this input from. One of them is, I'm going to slaughter names here. So one being Ravi Hatha Singh, and he's an American-born direct descendant from India's Prime Ministers Nehru and Gandhi. So he was there speaking to us and spoke of inspiring curiosity, nurturing talent, provoking critical thinking, and fostering communication. Talking points indeed, but he showed us examples of all that in his life's work. Attended 4 of the breakout sessions, one in SEL, one in governments, one in board superintendent relations, and one in cultural competence. All great speakers, all with great ideas on how to improve what we do as a board and improve our relationship with the superintendent and with the school in general. I attended a presentation on pupil-centered funding, which is AB 543, the new funding bill for our school districts. And it was several people speaking, and gave a presentation on how we can improve. It was interesting because there's a fight still going on how this is going to happen, how it's going to come down. I don't think we still have the details on how we're going to be funded here in Douglas County. And it may just boil down to, I think we may end up being underfunded, but we just don't know the bottom line yet. And a presentation on how the input that we give to our students can improve the outcome of our students. So it's taking a hard look at what we're doing and what we're giving our kids. And it seems simple, but you have to take it into consideration. Finally, I'd like to recognize 2 of the Douglas County educators who were acknowledged at the conference. Mrs. Pamela Gill Martin as School Administrator of the Year, and this is on a state level, and Mrs. Holly Coleman as a district employee making a difference. So that's on the NASB. Sorry, Ross, this is going to take a couple minutes. I was unable to attend the DPAC meeting, which I'm on that committee, and I'd just like to highlight the agenda, which is all I can do, about the important work that's being done with that committee. It's a parent committee and it's chaired by Mrs. Rami Cronin Mack. And they did a presentation. They were at Jacks Valley Elementary School, so their principal and vice principal did a presentation on the engagement of parents, how they get their parents involved in their school activities and part of the education of their children. There's also a discussion on communication and transparency at Douglas County School District, which was, again, I couldn't attend, but I just want to point out how important these meetings are. And also a discussion on tools parents can use for communication with these schools. And I also attended the Safety Task Force meeting. First meeting that was chaired by Mr. Shannon Brown behind us there. It was a great meeting, very engaging. There was a rollout of a new site-specific EOP, which is an emergency operation plan. He also did a comparison of the new site and district EOPs. There was a review of the emergency drills and school site committee responsibilities. So again, all very important work and very engaging, and safety of our students, first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you. You were busy too. Trustee Lehman.
Got nothing from my assignments, but I do want to report sometimes when we hear of things and then we don't really understand them fully until we see them, at least for me, until I see them in action. And over the last 3 weeks, I've seen the athletics department in the school in action as my son is playing on the basketball team. And I wrote a note to several people involved, but we sat here a few months ago and asked Keith to make everything as normal as possible for our students. That was part of his goals, which is pretty easy for us to say, a lot harder to do. But it's been amazing to see just everything that everybody's doing to let these kids do their extracurricular activities. The communication between school and parents is fantastic. The testing for those that need to be tested and the communication on that, and everything that everybody has done to allow these kids to go out and play some basketball. And I know this was the same for football earlier in the year. I just wasn't a part of that. And wrestling and all sorts of other things. And so I just think they're doing a spectacular job in letting these kids try to get back to normal as much as possible. And I was super impressed with it and just quite grateful because it was a personal experience this time.
Thank you. That's awesome to hear too. How wonderful. The only things I have to report is I did attend the training. I don't have specifics on it, but I thought it was well done and the speakers were wonderful. And if you want to know more about it, I'd be happy to meet with you and talk to you about it. I also did attend the Partners Across Community, and that was just such a highlight. These 3 kids were so amazing. They blew me away. They were dressed up professionally and they could just talk to you, and they just were so much fun and so engaging. And I'm so glad I went to it. Yeah, and that's about it for me.
Linda, can I just add really quick, just because I do want to make sure we, for anyone who's from Pawalu, or is just that was a great night of arts that they had. There were so many people there, such a great turnout. And those kids worked so hard and just did amazing in sharing the things that they've learned, the things they're doing. And I'll just share really quickly that my son told me how they had several different groups work together. He's in food and nutrition. And the cookie cutters that he used to make the cookies had been designed by students on and they used the 3D printers to make them, and a design group had created them. And so they just used all these different groups throughout the school and did one big project of getting these out, and how much fun he had being a part of that, and how they all worked together, and it was what they had done it. And so I just did want to just bring that up.
Sure.
I thought that was
Thank
really
you,
cool.
Heather.
I would like to add to that too. It was my oversight. But the night of artistry at Pawalu Middle School was the amount of people there would be mind-boggling. It was like going to a concert. There was hundreds of parents and family attending
Mhm.
this night. And there was the atmosphere was electric. The band did a performance, the choir did a performance, drama did a couple of performances. There were art and crafts that were for sale and on display by the students, science projects and engineering projects that were made by students, food and drink made and served by students. So it was nice to see how involved the parents and families were with their school.
Thank you. And I do believe as a board that whenever we can attend these things, I know we are busy people. I myself missed a bunch because I was out of the country, but and I hate to miss things, but if there's any way that we can try to, as a board, attend as many things that we can, I know that the teachers really appreciate and the kids really appreciate it as well. So thank you guys for all your hard work this last month. Okay.
The mastermind just walked in the room, actually. He didn't get to hear the nice things you said, but he is on record in email of saying that they're going to do it again. So there'll be another opportunity, Mr. Deadman, for a night of artistry. So.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the correspondence. Did anyone receive any correspondence that they'd like to share? I'll go up to Doug. Any correspondence, Doug?
No, nothing to report.
Thank you. Trustee Chichester? Nothing? Okay. Anyone on the board here?
Yeah, I think we probably all got an email letter in support of aligning the school calendars.
Oh, okay. Yes, we did. The only thing I have here is I did get a thank you from Pam Gilmartin, our person who won the Nevada Administrator of the Year. She wrote a cute little poem and I'll pass it around so that you can look at it. And I received a holiday card from Collaborative Design and I'll pass these around too. Anything else? If not, we'll move on to item number 7, the good news. And so I have something to report. I don't know if it's been in the paper because I haven't seen the paper, but Donna Harker and Alyssa Parks applied for and were awarded a $5,000 prize from the Dolan Auto Group. What they put in for was they've been working on an outdoor classroom project at Scarcelli, and they did receive their $5,000. The project began in the fall of 2018 with the 4th and 5th grade members, the Cheetah Leadership Group. They looked around for some area at the school and found an ideal spot. They brainstormed ideas that they wanted to create, and but then the pandemic hit, and so everything was put on hold. So as they were preparing to invite the community, that's when all this took place. It unfortunately had to be put on hold for a year and a half, but now they've moved forward and they are inviting the entire SES community or anyone else that would like to help with the classroom project. It's a learning experience for all students to help improve their school and create a place for all students to enjoy. So I guess at some point, if you get a chance to reach out to Scarcelli and go over and see what's going on over there, they got some good things going on. Okay, thank you. All righty, we'll move on to item number 8, maintenance and project report. I believe we have Mr. Demas. Phil? Good, thanks for being here.
So I was going to talk about some things we got going for the past summer and capital for next year. One of the things I'm doing is working with Southwest Gas, and they about 5 years ago they redid the campus here when they had an underground gas leak, and instead of one shut off out by the road, they brought all the lines and all the meters to each individual class or building, and makes it way safer for shutting things off. And then we're only responsible from the meters forward. So a lot of lines that we aren't responsible for anymore. So the same thing happened at Zephyr last year when I started an underground gas leak. So I had them redo the whole school, bring up meters right next to the building and get rid of a lot of old pipes and stuff. So what they're doing for us now is going to analyze the other 9 schools in the next few months. Then this summer, we're going to basically redo the schools for basically upgrading them at no cost to the district and be more safer and efficient for everybody. Another thing we got done this past summer was the Garland roofing project. It's the warranty job for the 100 and 200 building. They completed about $700,000 worth of new roofing for us for no cost. And that was phase 1. They're going to do the gym, both gyms, the drama, the band, roofs. It's about $900,000 worth of roofing that they're going to complete next summer. So that was a real good thing. They did Jacks Valley Elementary School this year. And unfortunately, they didn't get to CC Manili as we were pushing them, but so we're going to have some issues there, but that's how it goes. They're going to take care of that next year. And then for the capital list for, excuse me, only got one arm. Projects for the summer of 2022. I'm going to do a replacement of a 1978 boiler in the back of the Douglas High School gym and some asbestos removal. And that'll be the end of all the asbestos left in this school and all our schools. Jacks Valley Elementary HVAC upgrade, about a $750,000 project. Douglas High School, 100 and 200 building, the rooftops that I just had roofed. We're going to do a rooftop package unit replacement. And I'd like to look into exploring solar, talk to you guys and Keith in the coming years on these roofs. Just a thought. Scarcelli's going to get a new roof coating. The coating is missing about half of the coating on half of the roof. It's completely gone down to bare metal. We're going to install seamless gutters at Scarcelli, Powaloo, and Carson Valley Middle School with storm drains under the downspouts. So that's going on. We're looking into purchasing and installing a prefab concrete restroom. Would go out by the portables. It'll be for the baseball field and the portables, soccer fields, and sporting events out there. And that should get done this summer. And at the end of this fall break, the culinary job project's going to be completed and the upgrade there. And also for the summer, painting, DHS finish the 200 and 400 building, and carpeting DHS 200 and 400 hallways, and finish Powaloo D&E pods, and then just paving project, a big one for the high school here. That's about it.
Thank you, Phil. Does
Okay.
anyone have any questions for Mr. Demas?
Comment?
Okay.
That's a lot going on.
Yeah,
And that would be interesting to hear about solar in the future.
yeah. Just see your thoughts. And Keith and I, maybe at the next meeting, would like to talk about the old gym.
Yeah.
Like to take care of figuring out what we want to do with that. It's kind of an eyesore right now. The roof just leaked pretty badly, so
Mm.
we have an insurance claim and ceiling's getting replaced, but we have to do some about the roof. So we need to talk with you guys and see where we're gonna go.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think trustee McNaught has a question or a
I think
comment?
that we should pursue the solar panels along with the wind. They have some really robust wind turbines now that are vertical access that make no noise. And so I think we should look into that.
Yeah, it's just a
Okay.
matter of where we're gonna put them.
Yeah. Mm. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Phil. All right. Next we have, let's see. Oh, our superintendent report, item 9. I'll turn it over to you, Keith.
All right, so I'll start off, as I always do, acknowledging donations that we have received across the district. I'd like to acknowledge City National Bank that donated a $1,000 gift card to Barnes and Noble to CC Manili Elementary School. We recently had a DHS Carson High School staff charity volleyball game. Pizza Factory donated $400 to that, with the proceeds of that activity going to the Tamarack Fire Fund. It was a great event, and I think, as we always do, I believe Douglas beat Carson staff handily behind the talents of many staff volleyball players in their former lives. Rick Smith donated $200, and Kimmy Candy donated candy valued at $155 to the Douglas High School Culinary Arts Program. I'd also like to acknowledge the Pipkin Family Foundation. Douglas County School District has received a $25,000 grant through this foundation. If you remember, 2 years ago, they reached out to us wanting to help locally. They are based out of Southern California, but have roots in the Tahoe area, and have been very active and proactive in reaching out to help us with our needs. 23,000 of that donation will be used for technology needs. $1,200 will go to support the partners across the community program that Heather and Linda have spoken about this evening. And I just again like to acknowledge Colleen Pipkin, who has been instrumental in making these grants an opportunity for Douglas County. On the enrollment front, we had a little bit of decline. We're down 9 students from November, not significantly, but we are down 9 and about down 20 from where we were December of 2020. We continue to hold steady on COVID. We've had a little bit of an uptick, but we're currently at, we've had 344 cases district-wide throughout the school year. Currently 18 active cases. We've shifted a little bit to 11 of those being at the elementary level, 1 at the middle school and 5 at the high school level, and then 1 district-wide. Epic instructional walks that also have been mentioned. We have walked since the November meeting at Gardnerville Elementary School, Jacks Valley Elementary School, and then we spent 2 days here at Douglas High School. We were joined, as I had mentioned, in November at the Jacks Valley by Jessica Topman from the Department of Education, and we had the superintendent of Churchill County and 3 administrators joined her, and they had great things to say, obviously, about their observation and what's going on here in Douglas County. And I think enjoyed the opportunity as well to be in classrooms and talk to kids. Communications meetings, we've had a few cancellations. I've had some individual days. Somebody might accuse me that I'm avoiding them, but we've had a few of them that we've had to reschedule, but we've had 5. We've met with the George Whittel High School staff. We met with Zephyr Cove staff, Powaloo, Douglas High School, and then I said CC Manili, but due to the late start this morning, we're gonna have to reschedule. We were scheduled to be out there this morning. Just a reminder to all of you, the district office will be closed on December 24th in recognition of Christmas and December 31st in recognition of New Year's Day. Obviously, we'll have several of our staff members also taking vacation during the upcoming winter break. School will resume for Valley and Lake staff and Lake students on January 3rd. So just a reminder that the Lake students start the first day out of winter break because their semester ends 2 weeks later than it ends here in the Valley. And then Valley students will return on Tuesday, January 4th. We've been able to repair all the issues with the gas leak. As I had reported, we were forced to evacuate the school. We were having some repair work done on what we thought was a leaky sprinkler system. And unfortunately, the contractor cut into the wrong line. Fortunately, no one was hurt. And again, we're so blessed with the relationships we have in this community. The East Fork Fire obviously responds. Southwest Gas is very responsive. And really the work that they did in replacing the lines allows us to quickly turn off one valve and get all gas off in the school. And so then we're able to isolate that, work around it, and Summit Plumbing came in and did the fix. And again, the county working with us quickly to get a permit to be able to perform those repairs and then get those tested and get us back online. So it was why we don't ever want to have those. They did a great job here at Douglas High School handling that. Deputy Meyer and Mr. Brown attended a safety conference. We're excited as we always continue to try to enhance our safety measures. And as the world evolves, we also need to evolve. They came back from that conference, and Pool Pack, we've applied for a grant through Pool Pack in which they would fund 75% of 2 portable metal detectors. And so we think that would be a nice enhancement that we can randomly install those. They're movable quite easily. And so again, Pool Pack would cover 75% of that cost. So we're pursuing that. We can also obviously utilize them for events and again, just an enhancement to what we do. And we're constantly looking at that. So I appreciate their attention to that as we move forward. So that's all I have tonight. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Superintendent Lewis?
The gas leaks you're referring to were at Douglas High School?
Yes. Yep, in the main gym and the ceiling.
All righty, I think we'll move
Not a
forward.
great position to be in when you cut into a gas line and you're up in a high-rise lift. So
Yeah.
to say the least.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 10, acceptance of financial audit for fiscal and year end, ended June 30th, 2021, for discussion, possible action. And I believe we're going to be Zooming. We have Sue, right? And is Dave Zooming in with us?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Are you there, Dave? Okay. Each of you have the actual financial audit that was prepared by Silva Scarini and Associates this year. And Dave will come on here to answer any questions and to kind of go over a broad version of the audit itself. So.
Okay, Dave, you should be able to share your screen and interact.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Are we gonna see you or
Sorry
no?
for the inconvenience. And I definitely appreciate your flexibility. And I'm just on audio tonight. I hope that's okay. I've had some technical difficulties known as a computer crash, but at any rate. Can everybody hear me okay? And I'll just.
Yes, we can hear you fine, Dave.
Thank you. Okay. Obviously, we've completed the June 30th, 2021 audit, and just have a few things that I'd like to talk to you about, and it should go pretty quickly. I think, as I generally say for you all, the most important thing, and it is quite an accomplishment, is that you do have another clean opinion, sometimes called an unmodified report. That's the highest level of assurance that any CPA firm can provide after completing the audit. So that's a pretty significant accomplishment for you all. Just a couple of little anomalies to report to you. One is that you may recall from last year and previous years as well, not every year, that we had what's called a prior period adjustment. And we did have one this year, and that was because of the implementation of what is known as GASB 84. Effectively, that meant that your student activity funds are brought into the financial statement. And that is in accordance with GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And it was a requirement that initially started pre-COVID. GASB delayed it until this year being fiscal 21. So the district has properly reported that in the financial statements. The accounting standards require that it be reported initially as a prior period adjustment. So that's why you might see that on page 68 of your financial statements. But I think I take a little bit of issue with the language that they have us use. Prior period adjustment always requires an additional explanation. And in fact, on page 2 of your financial statement, where you have that nice clean opinion, they have us call it a correction of an error. And it is not that at all. It's not a correction of an error. It's the implementation of a new accounting standard. So why they have us do that, I can't really tell you, but now you know the whole story, I suspect, on GASB 4. And as I do like to tell our clients, GASB is very, very, very active, and they have been on a roll for a number of years now. And towards the, it's not really the back of your financial statements. Hang on just one quick second. I think it is beginning on page 68 and it spills over to page 69. It's just a real quick recap of some of the new GASBs that we can look forward to for the next couple of years. And I can guarantee you this won't be all. There'll be more than this. So I tend to think of GASB almost as the Auditor's Employment Act, because it keeps our clients as well as us pretty busy. But nevertheless, the goal of GASB is to simplify, and I'm using air quotes, simplify financial reporting. And we probably all have our opinions as to whether or not that gets accomplished. But at any rate, the only other thing that I'm really required to tell you with respect to the audit is that there was a minor budget violation, which is discussed on page 50. And that does relate to an over expenditure on the student activity funds. And it's very, very, very minor in terms of the scope. I think it ends up being like 1/20 of 1%. That's if I can still do arithmetic, but and certainly, at least from my perspective, really not unexpected. Again, first year implementing a new standard and a fairly complex new standard at that. So the action that you all need to take with respect to that over expenditure and budget violation is to provide to Department of Taxation within 60 days. So that would be before February 14th, let's say. What's you need to provide to them in written form, what's known as a corrective action plan, and just a couple of sentences or a paragraph as to how over expenditures of that nature will be avoided in the future. And for you new folks that might not be aware, it is not at all uncommon for an auditor to have disclosures of potential violations in the financial statement. And as I said a moment ago, this, from my perspective, is really very, very, very minor. It's interesting because this is the one area of the audit where, well, there are really a couple of areas of the audit where we don't deal with materiality. In other words, it doesn't matter how small something may be. If we take note of it, we're required to report it. So in case you're wondering why we are reporting such an insignificant amount, we are required to. Yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a question. Would you be, can we
of course.
go ahead and ask that? Okay. It's by trustee Lehman.
Can you just direct me to where this was reported? You said page 50?
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
I didn't see it. I'm just trying to
Okay.
understand it more.
Sure. Page 50, note 2.
Okay.
The notes headed compliance with Nevada revised statutes.
So can you explain? I mean, that,
Can I address that, Rob?
sure.
Okay. Because GASB 84, this was introduced just this year, we don't have control of the student activity funds. Those are actually administered at the school.
Can you,
They keep their own
can you define
accounts.
school, can you define what those funds
All
are?
of the outside activities that they do at their schools and the fundraisers that they have, they actually combine all of those resources to create revenue for their school. And then they spend, they do reimbursements and they do all kinds of things that it's just Douglas High does basketball, football, all those things, those fundraisers, those are held in a student activity fund for each school. We don't have control over those funds at all. So this being the first year that we did this, we took the last 2 years of historical expenditures and historical revenue that they receive, but we don't have any control if they receive more in a particular year or if they actually pay for more. And so having, being GASB 84, making this something that has to be part of our audit, what we will just have to do in the future is that we will just have to estimate much higher in the expenditures as a budget so that we don't run into that situation where they overspend that. Because we
So
don't have any control
They
of it.
didn't overspend what they actually brought in. They've got an account that zeroes out. They
Oh, yes.
overspent what you guessed they would bring in.
The only reason that it's a violation is because we had no way of knowing what to budget for this particularly. And when we did the May final, we actually
Okay.
created a budget for them that, it arbitrarily just gets handled by
So-
each school.
So to be clear, somebody comes in and really loves the football program and
Mhm.
says, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000 for new whatever.
Right.
They're not going to say no to that.
Oh,
They're
no,
gonna
of
use it,
course.
but you didn't know that was coming.
Yes.
So this is not actually a violation of spending more money than we had. This was
No.
a violation of not knowing what we were going to bring in.
That's absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Dave,
Thank you, Sue.
oh, hang on a minute. Do you have, go ahead, trustee Magnata.
Well, they all have their own accounting software. And that's why this becomes kind of tedious for us because we don't really have anything that's integrated into our system for student activity funds, never have. So each school has their own student activity fund. They have their own bank account. They do all of the accountability for it. They do all the expenditures. They do all they record all the revenue. And so at the end of the year, this just has become, and they've always, the auditors have always recognized the student activity funds in the back of the actual audit that shows what they started with and how much they spent, what they received, and then gives us a balance. So you're right, Rod, the balance was still, way more than what we had, but we didn't know what to budget for that. And we didn't know how to budget for an actual revenue versus what they spent. So that's basically not really a violation. Yes.
So we have to put an action plan into it. How are we not going to do this? Are we going to say, don't raise as much money as you did?
No,
I mean,
no.
What's
Oh,
our
no.
plan?
Well, the plan is, the only way that we know how to budget for this is that you've got to take a historical use of those funds. And we didn't really know because the last 2 years, they didn't spend what they even spent this year. And so that's what we budgeted for thinking that that's how we were gonna, but because we have no control over the spending of that particular thing, we can't do anything until we get a bank statement and they audit
I
their
understand-
financial
Yeah, I
statement.
understand the problem you're in. What I don't understand is how we're supposed to correct for a problem that really isn't a problem.
I think
Can I
we
ask
just,
a clarifying question before you?
yes,
The
go ahead.
issue really is though that we didn't budget the expenditures.
Yes,
So our expenditures were higher than our revenue.
well,
in
the
the
expenditures
budget
were
estimate.
higher than the budget that we submitted. That's
Higher than the
basically.
budget, but
Yeah.
not higher than we actually brought in.
No. Mm-mm.
So it's more estimating those expenditures. better.
Yeah, and how we do that, we only have one way to do that, and it's just kind of to take a historical value of the expenditures that we've spent over the last few years, and hopefully that's enough to cover the total expenditures. So what we will do this year is that we will budget higher for the expenditure side of things, and perhaps even budget higher for the revenue side of things, but the revenue is not the critical piece of it. It is budgeting for an expenditure that you overspend. So
Yeah.
when all those expenditures came in from every school, and we don't know that until September, and after that, we can't provide a budget for it. So in September, when we know what all of their expenditures and their revenue was, then that's what Dave has to report in this budget.
Understood.
I mean, in the financial statement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ross has his hand up?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, since we closed the fiscal year in July 1st, is there any way that in June, they can conclude all of their spending and get a report into us so that we can include that in some sort of an augment or a transfer? An augment, I'd say.
Well, I would love for that to happen. That would be great. But they don't even finish up their accountability until they actually receive their June bank statement, which is then again clear in July.
Yeah,
So when they report to us, we don't really know what their total expenditures and total revenue are at that point. But I will make an effort this year to actually try to get them to run a report at least as of June 30th and see what we may have. And that way we can try to get it into, but even then, it's still too late to actually get it into our June final amendment.
right,
So-
right.
We will just budget for a higher expenditure, and that way we don't ever be in violation. And that's how we really correct it. And that's what-
Right, and it's all just a paper thing anyway,
Yes.
really.
we don't have any of those bank accounts in our possession, so.
Right.
Sue, if I may interject just real quickly on this. Maybe what you could give some consideration to doing is getting their numbers up through, I don't know, say March or April, which would then leave just a small portion yet of the year that you would have to actually estimate
Yeah.
and perhaps include that then in your June augmentation.
And we did include the budget in the June augmentation. That's the first time we
Right.
actually saw it.
Right.
But and that was when we had to put it into our, to submit that to the state. But, this was our first year having done that. So we will take some different action next year and try to figure out a little better where we are at that point. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. I think we're good to go then. Thank you.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
we-
you.
Yeah, we have to, I'm sorry. we have to do-
This has
we
to be
have
approved.
sorry. Thank you. We'll see you later. We'll see you next year. Okay, so we'll go ahead. We have to, a recommendation. Someone want to make?
I'll make a
go ahead,
motion to approve the 2020-2021 independent audit report and direct Sue Estes, Director of Business Services, to file this report as public record in accordance with NRS 354.624.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, seconded by trustee Kangas. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it to a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dave.
Dave.
Thank you all very much. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too. Okay,
Yeah.
Sue, I guess we're on to the next item and your
Yes.
consideration of a 2021-22 budget augmentation and amendments possible discussion and for possible action.
Okay, and I don't want to spend a lot of time boring everyone to death with budget stuff and numbers, that's what you get to look at. But if you'll take a look at your highlights section, this is what is in our general fund, and this is the one that we really dictate in how we spend our money and receive our revenue. As you can see, it looks like there is a huge difference in our salaries and benefits. But I've listed out here the reasons that we've added into the budget, all of the things that we've had to add into here because of the PCFP funding. Okay, so they give us the amount of money that we're going to receive, and then we try to fit all that within the scope of what we have. And so these parameters out here are really the reason that we've added all of these things. Like we had to add half of the special ed, that was a state mandate, that the special ed money that they gave us in the PCFP funding had to be added to the general fund, as well as adding half of the special ed expenditures to the general fund. So it was about a 68-page journal entry that I had to make to actually move everybody into the general fund. So there's a lot of work involved in all of this. And then the rest of this is really not very little changes, but the change that you'll see is that the transfer we usually make to the special ed is now being covered by the state local funding. So we don't have to put that $4 million or $4.4 million. We're going to transfer 400,000 into the SPED to cover any expenditures that might be over what the total revenue is. We did have an increase in our utilities. Not entirely sure how that's going to fall out, but we did get a notice from Southwest Gas and from Nevada Energy that said that they were going to increase our Southwest Gas and our Nevada Energy. So we did actually increase that budget. The rest of this is all pretty redundant and it hasn't changed much. The one big change, of course, is the salaries. And then the discretionary piece of it changes each year based upon actual enrollment. And then just as a point of reference, Keith did approve some of the carryovers from a few schools because of things that they had ordered in the last part of the year, but due to COVID, we could not get them. And so he's allowed some of those expenditures to go into, and that's another reason for the 101 difference in the discretionary funds. Okay. And I think that's really all there is. The rest of those funds are all of our state funds. We don't have much state funding left as far as grants, but we do have a lot of local funding and we have some federal funding. We have the ESSER money that is in there. So, and then the food services, because of our free and reduced lunches, is really, their ending fund balance is higher than it's been in years. So, and we may end up with that same scenario for this year because the federal reimbursement increases because they do a lot of free and reduced lunch now. So, and those are basically the only things that we have to think about except for our insurance. And you all know the issues with that.
Okay, any questions for Sue on this? Okay, seeing none, do we want to go ahead and make a motion? We have to adopt each resolution independently. We have to do it 3 times. So we'll start with number 1. Go
I'll
ahead.
do one.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-06 in its entirety.
okay, we have a motion. Someone like to second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Heather. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that resolution passes 7-0. We have our second resolution. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-07 in its entirety.
Okay, motion made. Would someone like to second it?
Second.
Okay, motion was second. Any public comment on this? No, okay, seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. And our last resolution, would someone like to make a motion? Go ahead, Ross.
I'd move we adopt resolution number 2108 in its entirety.
Okay. Any public comment on this? Oh, sorry, anyone want a second?
Second it.
Sorry. Seconded by.
You seconded that? Right on.
Sorry. I got more
Keith.
Shirley. Thank you, Heather. Heather seconded it.
Never seen
Any
that
public
before.
comment on that? Seeing none? Okay, we'll bring it back to a vote. All those in favor? Say aye,
Aye.
raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? That motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Sue,
Thank you.
and thank you. Okay. Okay, so.
Good job, Sue.
It is 5:25, and we have Miss Amy here to talk about our school board redistricting. And I know it's probably going to take you more than 5 minutes. So what we could do is we could take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back at 5:30. Amy, for public comment, and then we'll let you have the floor. Okay, is that fair? Good. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at 5:30. Harry. Okay. Time for public comment. So, let me read this. See what it says here. What's my public comment? Oh, 14. One time. Apologize, I just my mouth. Okay. Comments from the public are invited at this time on topics not specifically addressed elsewhere in the agenda. There is a sign-up sheet provided for individuals who wish to address the board or asked to indicate their desire to speak in the topic they wanted to speak. Individuals wishing to address the board this time will be limited to 3 minutes. Trustee Kangas has agreed to be the timer this evening. And just so you know, if you've never been here before or spoke for public comment, that you are not allowed to interact or speak about anything that you're talking about. So please make sure your comments are not something that's already on the agenda. So we have Jeannie, and she's not here, I don't think. Jeannie, are you online? Is she online? No. All right. Dave Nelson? No. Nancy White? If you could come up and state your name for the record, please. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Oh,
Okay.
I
Go
am
ahead.
Nancy White. May I begin?
Please do.
Okay. I am Nancy White, the principal of Carson Valley Middle School. I am proud to work for Douglas County School District and truly believe that our district is the best in the state. I say this for many reasons, but mostly because of the talent, commitment, and expertise of the people who work day to day and year after year to provide the best education for every child we serve. My children attended DCSD, and while they are grown and living their best adult lives, I can honestly say that the education afforded them by DCSD's best has resulted in 2 top-notch Pac-12 college graduates. It is a privilege being the principal of Carson Valley Middle School, and one that I do not take lightly. My team and I work very hard to cultivate an environment that is safe, respectful, and responsible. This year has been hard for everyone, but as educators, we have an obligation to look for the good, to be positive, to have a mindset that solves problems, and to encourage and support each other and our students. I have found that the focus lately has been on anything but these qualities. When did self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making become political, and why? Time spent insinuating that by supporting students to be more self-aware is now seen as Marxism, and not simply providing a way for them to think more deeply about themselves and reflect on ways they can take more agency socially and educationally. I do not understand the thinking behind the comments made by individuals who claim that time spent supporting students to have more personal agency and responsibility is too expensive and falls under the guise of socialism. Really? There are children in our schools who lack support and guidance at home. We must provide it because no one else will. And that's just too important to turn a blind eye to or to politicize. Ask anyone who knows me and they will tell you that I am a realist, a pragmatist. This pandemic continues to press us as a community, a state, and a nation. Our students, their families continue to deal with the reality of the stresses and loss over the last 18 months. We are working to bring back some semblance of normalcy to their school and the way they learn, socialize, and communicate. Let's put our focus on how we can support them as students. Let's focus on the purpose of school. Let's focus on their why. After all, isn't it supposed to be about them? Thanks.
Oh, next we have Adam Dedman. Can you come up and state your name for the record, please? And Carrie will be timing you. Today he has a yellow piece of
I have
paper.
a yellow piece of paper at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and I have a red
Red card.
Christmas card for-
Red means stop talking.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Adam Dedman, and I'm the principal of Powwalu Middle School. I graduated from this Douglas High School 27 years ago, and this is my 17th year working for Douglas County School District. I thank the board for this opportunity to speak, and I thank you for your service to the students and families of our county. Trustee Kangas, thank you for coming to the Night of Artistry and for saying nice things about us. We appreciate that. I'd like to first publicly acknowledge the tremendous skill and effort put forward by the teachers, support staff, counselors, specialists, and administrators all across Douglas County. My own 3 children are enrolled in our schools, and they have received nothing short of a world-class education and support from the caring staffs at their schools. Let me also publicly acknowledge my 100% support for my colleague Nancy White's comments a few minutes ago. At Powwalu, we provide a nurturing environment for 521 students and 54 employees who come to work at our school every day. I have a request that I'm hoping the board will consider this evening. I would like to ask the board to carefully consider their priorities and their long-term focus. It is my opinion that the time spent haggling over critical race theory for the last few months was an unfortunate and reactionary waste of precious time. Your vote to put the issue to rest lifted a tremendous burden off the backs of our educators, but it was a burden that didn't need to be there in the first place. Let us not fall into that trap again. Educators love their jobs. They love their kids. Teaching children is a labor of love. It is incredibly rewarding, and it challenges us to improve and grow every day. I ask this board to look for ways to alleviate the many difficulties we all face. With that, I humbly draw your attention to what I feel are the 2 most pressing issues we deal with on a daily basis. 1, the emotional well-being of our students and staff. 2, the difficulty we are facing filling our vacancies, especially our substitutes. This has put additional strain on our already stressed workforce. Our district office and human resources have done much great and innovative work on this front. I ask the board to focus its energy on supporting the work that we already do on a daily basis to support the social and emotional well-being of our students and staff. In addition, I ask you to focus your energy on supporting the recruitment of employees to fill our critically important positions. What would that support look like? While I do not have all the answers myself, I do know that this question can be taken up by the board. This is a real problem that we can come together and strategize to solve. Let's build on the innovative work already underway here in Douglas County. Thank you.
And our last person that's on our list is David. See, if you could come up and state your name for the record, please. Thank you. Is your mic on? I think it might. There you go. Now it's on.
Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, known as VAERS. This system is used to report adverse reactions to the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson experimental emergency use authorization death jabs. In 31 years, from 1990 to 2020, the USA has 4,799 vaccine adverse related deaths listed in the VAERS system. That's all the vaccines for all the years. And that's a total of 9.3 billion doses. In the 11 months from January 2021 to December 3rd, 2021, the USA has 19,886 vaccine adverse related deaths listed in the VAERS system. That's the COVID-19 vaccines plus all the others. That total is 752 million doses. A research study by Harvard University found only 1 to 10% of all adverse reactions are reported due to the fact that VAERS is a passive system with no legal consequences for non-reporting. Multiply 19,886 by 10 and you have a staggering number, 198,860 deaths. Permanent disability from COVID-19 jabs in 2021 is 32,644. The pharmaceutical industry has zero liability for any of this. This is not the first time, although it seems to be the largest scale, the US government has used its citizens unknowingly as guinea pig test subjects. Here are some others. The Tuskegee syphilis study in 1932. The Navy-sponsored beef blood transfusions in 1942. Operation Sea Spray in 1950. Dr. Anthony Fauci's National Institute of Health 2004 AIDS human experiments on 532 New York State foster care orphaned and foster children. 200 of these children died. The murderer Fauci had personal oversight of this heinous crime. There are many, many more examples in the United States history. Wake up, America. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay. Sorry. Public comment online?
We have a D. Shoemaker.
Okay. If you could state your name for the record, please. You know what? It's hard to hear you. You're kind of breaking in and out.
Okay. Doria Shoemaker.
Okay.
And I'll make it quick and simple because I pulled over to make this public comment. I am asking, requesting if the board can go back to their further discussion of bringing back the talk about late starts for our high school kids.
Okay.
She's dropped off.
Oh,
Yeah.
we lost you. I'm sorry. What did she say her name was? Was it Gloria? Oh, Doria. Okay, Doria. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry we lost you. We do have another public comment at the end of the meeting if you'd like to come back for that. Or if you hear me now.
Say late start.
Late starts, you wanted to bring back a discussion on late starts, school start times.
We have a Todd Poth.
Okay. Go ahead, state your name for the record, Todd.
The name is Todd Poth. Can you guys hear me? Just want to make sure the connection's good.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Todd Poth, parent of 3 kids in the Douglas County School District. I just want to say, one, I think in the last couple of years has been lost in the shuffle, just how tremendous the Douglas County School District has done in keeping kids in class. And that goes out to Keith and his staff and all the rest of them for that. So I want to give you a major props on that. I also want to support the first 2 speakers in public comment and what they had to say on the school board and looking at some of the more pressing issues that are really facing us. I think we've been facing a bit of a distraction in the last, 18 months, like just about everybody. I know COVID kind of threw everybody off. Staffing is a big deal. I know at the Lake schools, we're struggling quite a bit. We've kind of had to move some teachers around and they're spread pretty thin. I think we really need to think outside the box and how the school board is going to attract teachers moving forward even. This district is going to get harder and harder to bring in teachers and quality staff, bus drivers, things like that. I'd really like to see some innovative potentials. I know that at one point in time in these meetings, I talked about, that maybe we could build tiny homes up there at the Lake School on that property, or maybe we could look at something housing that the district could actually help, supplement for teachers to bring them into our district. I know in several areas of the world they do that. Australia and the Outback, they supplement a lot of that stuff to get teachers to go to those areas that it can be hard to attract to more. The housing is just hard to do. And I think you guys got a big task in front of you, focusing on those things that need to be done. So hopefully we can get back onto those things. I know we got a budget crunch coming up in a couple of years, and I would love to see our district try to get ahead of that in any way possible before that rural new, however the funding is calculated, comes into effect, because that is really going to affect Douglas County. So thanks again for your service, all the work you do. I know it's definitely a big task, and it's been extremely difficult the last couple of years, and hopefully we can start focusing on things and keep our district one of the top districts in the state and in the country. Thank you.
Todd. All right. Anybody else? Nope. Okay, that ends public comment. Amy, thank you for being so patient. We have with us, what? I was just going to say, we have with us tonight the Douglas County Clerk Treasurer, Amy, is it Bergen?
Bergens.
Bergen, sorry.
No, it's okay. No one gets it right the first time. Push this one to go forward.
Where do you see that? Does he not see it? I'm sorry, Amy, hold on one second. I'm having a conversation. Do we have any more hands? Is that it? Is that it for public comment? You said, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. You've got the floor, Amy.
Thank you. Okay. Like Linda said, I am Amy Bergens, Douglas County Clerk Treasurer, and I am tasked every 10 years with redistricting the Board of County Commissioners, the school district, and ensuring this is after the census numbers come out. So I am here today to go through a presentation of what I'm doing, and then give you guys a couple of options to send me on my way and come back next month with hopefully a resolution. So I'll just get started. Okay, so what is redistricting? Redistricting is a process of redrawing the boundaries of the districts that are consistent with Douglas County. Every 10 years after receiving data from the census, the districts must be redrawn so that each ward is substantially equal in population. We do this by using GIS software that the county purchased to import district population numbers along with data received from the census. It's a great software. I've had a lot of fun playing with it. The population establishes the school board district, not the number of registered voters. So it's based on actual population, ages 0 to however old the oldest is. So the districts should be within a 10% variable of each other based on the most current census population numbers. So an example of this is that if one district is 4% below the ideal number and one district is 3% above the ideal number, and that's the high and the low, you add those together and the total percentage spread would be 7%. And our goal is to keep it under 10. So guidelines used for redistricting for the school board in NRS 386.200, section 8, it says the Board of County Commissioners may by resolution change the boundaries of school trustee election areas or the manner of nomination or election of school trustees after A, holding a public hearing of which notice must be given as provided in subsection 3, and B, receiving at that hearing or by resolution the consent of the Board of Trustees of the school district. So this is basically saying that we can either hold a public hearing, which we are doing right now, and it needs to be noticed as provided in subsection 3 of this same NRS, which I did. It was in the newspaper on Saturday that we would be holding this hearing. So the noticing requirement has been met. I will do so again for the next meeting where I bring a resolution forward. And then we will take the resolution forward to the Board of County Commissioners as a Board of County Commissioners resolution. So we are following the guidelines to redistrict. The guidelines used for redistricting are state and federal regulations. Like I just showed you, the NRS is the one that oversees the school board. And then there are also state and federal regulations that talk about how to do so. The Federal Voting Rights Act and Equal Protection Clause. Equal in population, the goal of redistricting is to get the districts within a 10% variable of each other based on the most current census population numbers. And we already talked about that. Contiguous, which means the districts must be geographically contiguous. We don't want a district in between two districts. So you don't want like one to be over here and then also over here. You want them to connect the whole way. Community integrity. Districts should allow for representation of general areas of the county having similar or common interests or affinities. Geographic, street, and natural boundaries will be accounted for in establishing district boundaries and be used as division when practicable and legal. The GIS software actually does this for us. It uses the streets, the streams, the mountain ranges, and gives us those lines to make it really clean. So that has been used in this in these proposed maps. They should reflect the core of the existing districts. So districts should retain the core of the existing districts to the extent possible. Districts should be created using the existing district boundaries as a benchmark, which we did. Current incumbents, to the extent practicable, avoid contests between incumbents. I did not use this information when doing any of the districting for the BOCC or the school board because I felt like it kept me from being swayed in any direction. I used the other 4, and then I felt like the current incumbents and community input would be up to the board to ensure that those were met to the best best possible. And then community input. So while I have that, I apologize, my computer shut down. Let me log back in. I have the public input. We were on a shortened timeline. The census information came out very late and then got to the special legislative session very late. So we've only had a couple months to work on this, and we just got the maps posted last week. So we only have about a week's worth of comments or public input. So currently we only have 3 for the school board maps. 1 is for option 1 and 2 are for option 2, and there was no additional comments provided. So that is currently what we have as far as public comment that I have received from the redistricting website that we. Yes, so 3 people have used our redistricting website survey. 1 has selected option 1 as their pick, and 2 have selected option 2. There is an area for additional comment, but none of the 3 have added any additional comments. And I'll keep that up in case you have questions later. So the timeline that we're looking at for the school board, like I said, we did get this very late, so the timeline is very crunched for all of the redistricting. December 3rd is when with the, I feel like that should have said December 6th. I feel like the website went live December 6th. Yes, I apologize. I did not change this. December 3rd was the day we were hoping to go live, but due to website issues, it went live on December 6th. So December 6th through December 13th was when we received public input on the proposed maps. December 14th, that's today, is the school board meeting, and I am presenting the proposed maps to the school board to include public input. And the school board, I'm hoping tonight will select a map to adopt via resolution on January 11th at your school board meeting. The resolution, I will bring forward the resolution with the proposed map that you have selected for your adoption. It will be a school board resolution. At the February 3rd meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, I will take the resolution as exhibit that you have adopted as Exhibit A to a Board of County Commissioners resolution for them to adopt the map that you have selected. And the resolution will take effect immediately once they have adopted that. And then March 7th through 18th is candidate filing for all candidates that are up for election next year. So if there's any school board members that are up for election, the candidate filing is March 7th through 18th. The reason I added that is because all of these maps have to be adopted and go into effect prior to that March 7th date in order for us to, that's just, that's state law. So we can't change anything after that March 7th date. So here's the current school board district. I did bring bigger maps and I do have the ability to pull these up via the GIS software if there is anything necessary for you guys to see or that you are interested in seeing. It does. So this is the current one. It shows all 7 districts. And then the next page is the current school board district's population data. And just to go through this, you'll see it a lot. District number, of course, is the first one. The second row is the total population in that district right now. The third one is the target population. So that's the number that we're trying to get to is 7,070 in each district. The target deviation is the target population plus or minus the target population gives you the target deviation. So that's how far off we are, either high or low in that district. And then the last one is the percent. So District 1 is down 437 people, and that's a 6.18%. And then you can go down the line and see all of them. So you can see the high is 13.58, that'd be District 7. They're the highest. The lowest is District 3, and they're down 20.89%. And when you add those together, that's 34.47%. So right now, the 7 districts have a deviation of 34.47%. Does that make sense, or do I need? Okay. So the proposed map 1. I apologize. Let me get my notes out. It's the same. It's just larger. I can also pull it up via GIS after we go through all of this. If you need to like zoom in on anything, it's a great software. Proposed map 1. And I'm just going to read the reasoning for each proposed map. Proposed map number 1 uses the current district boundaries and moves them to capture the population necessary to ensure the districts are within the desired 10% variable from the 2020 census data. This proposal moves the town of Genoa into District 3 and cleans up the line for District 1 to capture along 395. It moves more of the town of Minden into District 2. And I'm not going to read the last sentence. It's the same on all of them. Well, I'll read it once and then I won't read it again. It's just a geographic information system, which is GIS software, has been used to determine natural geographic boundaries such as bodies of water or mountains, along with other geographic boundaries such as parcel lines and streets to set the district boundary. That was used for all of these, so I'll omit reading that for the future. The numbers for proposal number 1 shows that the deviation on that one is 4.51%, which gets us to a much better number of under the 10%, which all of these maps, the proposed maps will do. So you can see the high on that one will be, I'm sorry, the District 5 will be at 1.67%, and the low will be District 2 will be 2.84% below the target deviation. So I'm very close when it comes to the numbers. Okay, we'll move on to school board district proposal number 2. This one, proposed map number 2 uses the current district boundaries and moves them to capture the population necessary to ensure the districts are within the desired 10% variable from the 2020 census data. District 1 expands east. District 2 keeps Genoa. District 3 expands south to Highway 395, but leaves the town of Genoa in District 2. And District 4 loses part of Fish Springs and gives it to District 6. District 5 keeps their portion of the Gardnerville Ranchos. And you can see the variation on this one is 6.18%, with the high being District 1 at 2.45% and the low being District 5 at 3.73% below.
I have a quick question.
Oh, I think I just, yes, go ahead.
I'm not sure. On the first one, I'm in District 3, and so the first one we were going to adopt into District 3, Genoa, and in the second one we aren't. So what are we doing to get the extra population in District 3?
I have to look at the maps. I apologize.
We're picking some up in Clear Creek, Doug.
So in proposal 1 in district, can you repeat that question one more time? I'm sorry.
Well, I would just, I'm just looking at the map and then you're flipping them. I don't have the maps in front of me. District 3 in the first proposal, Genoa was added to District 3, and in the second proposal, I wasn't sure where the added population, and Rob said it was from Clear Creek. Is that correct?
No, District 3 would actually, the additional in proposal 2.
Yes.
The additional is, I don't want to give you bad information. I apologize. Let me pull it up on my computer just to make sure.
It's coming down on the bottom and 2.
I just want to make sure I'm looking at the current map.
I was looking at 3. 3 picks up Clear Creek.
I'm thinking it's Centerville South.
Yeah.
Okay, is that what you're seeing?
Okay, all right.
Yes, so it's taking, yeah, it's taking the bottom. So it's going down below to, I believe, Highway 88 from Centerville South.
Okay. But that's not the ranchos though.
No, no, it's on the other side of Highway 88 towards the mountains.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And then this proposal number 3. So proposed map number 3 uses the current district boundaries to move and moves them to capture the population necessary to ensure the districts are within the desired 10% variable from the 2020 census. Though this proposal has the most drastic change, it captures the need to reflect the core of existing districts by having the towns of Minden, Gardnerville, and Genoa not sliced into multiple districts. And then it goes on to repeat what I'd said before. So one of the guidelines that we talked about was to keep the core of existing districts. And the existing districts are GISs, towns, those types of things. So one of the cleanup maps that I'm proposing is to District 7 is Gardnerville, and District 4 keeps or has Minden in it. And then the Gardnerville Ranchos is really hard because there's over 10,000 people that live just in the GID. So it's even too large for a Board of County Commissioners district. So it has to be sliced. So I took the bottom half of it and made it its own district. And then the top half sticks with District 4. So that's just a cleanup map that follows one of the guidelines. The numbers on that one is 7.08% variable, with the highest being the District 7, which is 3.39% above, and the lowest being District 6 at 3.69%. So I'm going to go into what's next, and then I'll open it up for questions and we can dig a little deeper. So the Douglas County Clerk's Office is requesting that the school board choose a map to bring forward as a resolution to be adopted on January 11th, 2022. And then the completed resolution will be taken back to the Board of County Commissioners to be adopted as a county resolution per NRS 386.200 on February 3rd, 2022. The resolution will take effect immediately after the adoption by the BOCC, the Board of County Commissioners. Oh, that's the end.
Question.
Yes.
Excuse me. Is there any way we can get these maps with streets on them so we can see, you know, this looks fine, but I don't know, you know, I don't know where the boundaries really are.
So the geographic website that we put out on redistricting, you can go in and you can enter your address and search for it and look at streets and communities. It's got great Zoom capabilities.
Awesome. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
The 10%, is that desired? Is it mandated?
It is a guideline. It's my understanding that it used to be part of NRS, but has since been removed, the actual word 10%. And the way that the NRS reads now is as close as practicable.
So
It's a guideline that we in Douglas County still use.
my only concern with all three of these is if there is one part of our county that is uniquely its own part, is the lake. And all three of these options have boundaries that extend outside of the lake just to get there. And I understand why that was done, but my question is it a defensible thing, and should we consider squeezing District 3 down to make sure that there's a representative from the lake, even though that would increase our variability? You understand what I'm saying?
I think that would be a legal question. I have an opinion on that, but my opinion probably is not legal.
Yeah, what?
That is not the objective of redistricting. That I understand that Douglas County is unique. We have areas that are, the lake is very unique to the rest of the county. However, that is not the goal of redistricting. Redistricting is strictly to get the population as close as practicable and to keep the districts as the core of the existing districts to continue.
I thought you said one of the things you went off of was trying to keep
Community.
Like communities,
yeah.
correct.
Is that is one of them, right?
It is.
So I would say that would at least argue in favor of keeping the lake its own. I think it would be really tough if we had everybody from the valley on this board. I think we need somebody from the lake. I really, really do. And that might not happen. So I'm concerned about that.
That's a good concern. Rob, I think that's a good concern to.
I think that's hard for the person that's up at the lake, which of course right now is Doug, that, you know, to be able to work with that community and also be able to come down off the hill and work with the community off the hill that's in the valley.
Well,
That too. Doug, how do you feel about it?
well, I guess first of all, I look at this and because of the timeline, the time crunch, it seems like to try and do some different map would maybe make our getting this resolved by the March deadline not possible. So if we are to look at these maps here, perhaps the one where the lake includes Clear Creek would be the most tenable option because that's probably more like the lake than any other community. And so I guess that's map 3, if I remember right. That would be my comment, but nothing's going to change for the next 3 years. I mean, as far as who's representing the lake, but I can see where you're coming from, Rob, but I don't think it'd be a problem to have a lake representative.
I have another question. I'm in District 5, so I have the question about District 5. Some of it's dark green and some of it's light green.
I apologize. I should have explained. So the darker areas on the map, the Gardnerville Ranches GID is shaded in. The town of Gardnerville is shaded darker. The town of Minden is shaded darker, and then the town of Genoa are shaded darker, just so that it started out as just for me to be able to see where the lines were and to see what was where. And I kept it on there because I did think that it was good reference.
I'm District 4, and I know when I went on the site and zoomed in on my address, it certainly appeared to be there. When I zoomed in, it went black and white on me.
Did
and
you?
it didn't have the color coding on option 1, I believe it was map 1.
Did
and
you?
then I had to circle back around, and it looked like my address was still in District 4, but I couldn't be sure.
Did you enter your address into the search bar?
Yes, I did.
It should have popped up with that information. I can search it right now. I mean,
Okay.
if yes, do you mind? That would be great.
Ross has his hand up, just so you know.
Okay.
When we're done with this, thank you.
Oh,
So,
I'm like, wait.
so without hitting the zoom, just do the address?
So yes. Now, which option were you speaking about? 1?
District 4.
Right, but which map
Map
proposed?
1, I believe, was the one I did.
Do you,
All of the others appeared in color, and that one went to a black and white.
do you want to give me your address?
Sure.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
Don't do that.
This,
Don't do
yeah,
that, Gary.
remember this
No.
is.
we're,
public.
yeah, you can,
Maybe a street name that's close.
Yeah. Pleasant View.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm typing. You're supposed to be typing. I apologize. I think it's supposed to be one word.
Yeah, option 1 seems to lose its coloring as you zoom in close.
Well, that's actually not even in Douglas County anymore. He's got us in another state. That's perfect. John, I think they're going to go ahead and search it on this computer over here so that it's not public. Thank you. While we're waiting on that, I might also mention that, so like I said, I did not look up anyone's address. However, if a map is selected that does district someone out, that doesn't mean that they lose their seat. They keep their seat until the next time they're up for reelection. And then unless they have moved into that district, they will not be able to run. So the school board districts, even though the purpose of the district lines is that you have to live inside those districts in order to run for that, whether it's District 1, 2, 3. However, the seats are elected at large, so the whole county will be voting for those all 7 districts.
Okay, so I began a 4-year term about a year ago, and if I were not in my district, I still serve out my 4 years.
Correct. Yes, you would not be up.
And
Your term would not be up.
Was up for election.
It is.
If
Yes.
someone was up for election and the district changed, or the map changed their address, then they couldn't run for a district.
I don't know if I understood that
They
one.
couldn't run for my seat if their address showed up in my new district.
You are not up for election until your term expires.
Right.
At that point, if you do not live in the district, you cannot rerun for your seat.
Right.
Okay.
What about if someone was up for election in my district?
So
their map, their address went into my district.
And they're up
And-
for
and they might-
reelection.
they might be up for
So
reelection.
tell me again what district you are?
I'm District 4.
So I'm just going to use an example. District 4, you are in your district.
Right.
However, let's say, Tony, which one are you in? What district? Do you know? 3? Okay. So we'll say Tony is, well, we'll just, where it's just, we're just pretending. We'll say Tony is district into yours and his term expires this year.
Mhm.
And he can't rerun for his seat. He can't run against you because your term is not expired. When your term expires, since you both are in the same, yes, he can run against you, but not until your term expires.
The simple question was, if you're elected to a 4-year term, you're sure about your term, no matter what the scenario is.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think, Ross, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead.
Can you give us the website that we can enter our addresses in or whatever?
Did a Google search.
So I'm going to tell you, it's a lot easier to go to the Douglas County main page because it's an external site that it'll take you to. So if you go to the Douglas County's homepage and you scroll down about halfway to news and announcements, it's the second one. It's the white one that says Douglas County seeks public input on district redistricting maps. I'm sorry, this is a little convoluted, but I promise it's easier than typing in. And then if you go down to the bottom of that,
Okay, where do I go? So I'm at Douglas County, Nevada. Go to where?
just the homepage, if you scroll down under news and announcements,
Okay, it says redistricting Douglas County, Nevada.
yes, click on that. It'll take you to a press release.
Okay,
On that press release, if you go down to almost the bottom of the 4th paragraph from the bottom, there is a link for the Douglas County School District Trustee Election District Proposed Maps and Information. It's the https://redistricting-douglasnvgis.hub.arcgis.com/ That's why it's easier to go to the homepage.
I caught all of that, except I caught homepage, press releases and link, but between homepage and press release was.
So on the homepage for the Douglas County, if you go down about halfway to news and announcements,
Thank you.
yep, and it's the redistricting, it's the white one.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question?
okay, so the click here, it's not in a different color and it doesn't work.
It's not a click here, it's an actual link. Is that what you're clicking on?
No, it says to view redistricting information and maps for the school district board of trustees, click here. And you click there and nothing comes up. It doesn't even work.
Ross, I just sent you a link on your email.
Okay, I'm there, but I just.
Is it possible for me to use the chat feature on here and post it in the chat?
Goes public.
Doesn't matter. I can't run again anyway, so it doesn't matter, but I just was curious.
And then you're saying that once we get on that website, we can zoom and it'll show the,
Except for one.
except for number one.
Option one seems
option
to
one.
be, when you get in a little close, it doesn't keep the colors. So if we said we'd like to keep the lake, can you bring back other stuff? If we said we'd like to see another option where the lake stays itself and then you distribute everything in the valley evenly, could you do that?
I can, however, the resolution has to be based on the map that you choose, which makes it very difficult.
What do you mean?
I have to bring a resolution to you at the next meeting that you will adopt one of the maps. So that resolution will be based on the map that you pick. So if I bring back more proposals.
Well, if we, I see what you're saying, but if we said, okay, if you bring back these 3 proposals, plus please add a 4th that maintains 1 lake position and distributing the rest, we could then pick out of those 4 and have a resolution. Is that right?
I see what you're saying. I would seek legal counsel before I did that.
Okay.
That's not following the state and federal,
Based on the 10%.
based on the, I apologize, my mind just went
All right,
blank. It's a
no worries.
federal law, National Voting Right Act,
Okay.
which says
1 vote.
1 vote,
Mhm.
1 person.
Mhm.
And even though we do vote at large, it's still representing. How many
Mm-hmm.
people are you representing? I would seek legal counsel before I brought that forward.
I guess I'm curious, if we did that, would we fit within the 10? You know what I mean?
No, we would not. I can
Definitely
tell
not.
you that even the Board of County Commissioners that has 5 districts, the Lake
Well, that makes it
District is
easier if you
coming
have-
significantly into.
But the more you have, the easier it is. Because we have 7, you do have smaller districts. So that's easier than having 5.
Correct, but it's the 3 ways that I have proposed are really the 3 ways to be able to capture. There's just not, there's no other way to make the lake its own. So if you take, for instance, Tahoe Douglas Fire Protection District, they're just the lake and they have about, I want to say 5,400 people. So if you're going to take that area and make it its own district, it would be fairly similar as what you're requesting of me. You would be over 2,000 people low in District 3 compared to the other ones, which would be even worse than what we're at now.
5,400, you say the target 70?
70, yeah. And these are rough numbers just off the top of my head. I apologize.
That'd be 23%. That's tough. Yeah, I don't know. So what's your desire from us tonight? That we choose one of these?
I would request that you select one to be brought back at the January 11th meeting as a resolution.
Decision makers is the county commissioners or us and them?
The county commissioners are the ultimate ones that have to adopt the resolution that you provide. They have the ultimate say, but it's based on your selection. And that's in NRS.
They can't choose something we didn't choose, which is kind of weird, the way I read it. Like they have to choose what we choose.
That would
That's
be
the way I-
another legal question. I would say, based on the NRS, it says that this meeting is held after noticing and that you guys adopt a resolution
Uh-huh.
and that resolution goes to the Board of County Commissioners as a resolution and is adopted.
Well, you want a motion, Madam President?
That's the problem. I don't feel like I've had enough time to look at this to make a, to make a decision. That's the only thing.
Has
I'm
every board
sorry.
member looked at these maps prior to this meeting? And decided where each of your addresses lie in districts and each scenario? Because that's important, I think.
I'm a little less concerned with that.
What are your concern? Is your concern about the lake? Is that-
My main concern is the lake. I fully understand the issue that we
I do
run
too.
into. I appreciate it. So I would make a motion.
Well,
I'm not making the motion. The motion that I would make would
If you were to
be,
make a motion.
would be to move forward with option 2. And that's because I think it preserves the lake the best possible because it doesn't have Genoa in there. I think Genoa is a pretty big population base that Although that just makes no sense.
There's actually-
I'm arguing math and the
There's
math just-
actually only about 250 people that actually live in the town of Genoa.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it's not a big population base. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So
I would,
not
yeah.
that they're not significant. They're still significant. Let me just preface that.
I don't know if you know the difference. When the original map was drafted.
Can't hear you, Keith.
Oh, no.
There. So Mr. Gardner had met with Amy. Originally, there were some maps developed that had to be revised, and we had run addresses at that time on these maps, and it looked clean in terms of any of you having to run against each other. Obviously, there were changes made. Were there any drastic changes that you can speak to, or could we somewhat be confident that?
I'm not going to promise that there's not drastic changes because I haven't side by side the previous ones. I scrapped those and started, and these were the ones that were supposed to have been published. And I apologize for that. However, these were the ones that were supposed to be published, and therefore I did not go back. I did not have the addresses when Joe and I met. He had the addresses with him and we searched them. So I did not go back and research those.
Suggestion, Rick, please provide legal counsel. Could this be another issue that we table till towards the end of the meeting, and I could task my staff behind me to start running some addresses across maps so that you have more information?
I believe that's
that would be okay.
a good idea in
We
my
could still
opinion.
get to a decision by the end of this meeting, but you would have more information.
Go ahead, Tony.
Does this affect, because if we have a certain number of students going to one school in a three district.
Yeah, his mic.
They have to be relocated.
Your mic. I'm sorry, Tony.
Okay,
If we have a number of students going to one school and it's redistrict, and now they have to go to a different school, that's gonna
No.
affect us?
This does not affect the children or where they attend school. This only affects where the school board trustee has to live in order to be a candidate for that seat. That's the only thing that this affects. This doesn't affect the children.
Okay, good. I have another question. Now, proposal 1 says population data 4.51%. 2 is 6.18 and 3 is 7.08. Can you explain those numbers to me again? I'm sorry.
You know, it's okay. It's very confusing. It's the variable for each map. So it takes the high number. So say one is 1.5% over
Okay.
the variable. So the target number, thank you, John. If you look at that, this is the current one, which we're 34.47% off. If you look at this, if you look at the target well, let's start at the beginning. The target population or total population, that's the amount of people that lives in those districts currently,
Right.
as they are right now. The target population, that's the number we're trying to get to for each district, is 7,070 for every
Okay.
single district.
Okay.
The third one is the target deviation. That's telling me how far off we are from the target population and the total population.
Okay.
And then the target deviation is the percent of those numbers. Those percentages, I take the high and the low and I add them together, and that's the deviation.
So number 1 then would be the least amount of
Deviation.
Deviation, correct.
So the least amount of changes per your population that you have.
It would be the closest in
Closest to.
population, correct?
Okay. So
That gets us to
not
4.51.
changes, but
Right.
it's okay.
That means that that map is the closest to each district having 7,070 people in it.
So number 1, if you were saying this, you know, the fairness of all of this, let's say, that would be the most fair of the.
I would not say fair. I would say that's
Population.
the most equitable when it
Equitable,
comes to
okay.
population.
I like equitable.
Don't use that term here.
Oh, no,
Don't use
yeah,
that term
no,
here.
okay. So number
I'm
1's the
only
most
talking about
equitable.
maps
Right. So number 1's the most equitable across the board.
as far
And
as
then
population.
Little
correct.
less for the 2 and further away 3. Okay. That's all I
Yes.
needed to know. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm ready to make a motion, but
Do we want, are we gonna table it or are we gonna make a motion?
I don't know. Have we,
I'm not ready to vote personally.
How about, let's go around. How about you, Ross? Are you ready to, if a motion's made?
Well,
Or do we want to just see which one we would choose and then make a motion? Is that?
all I want to
that
know
what
is
we're
if Rob and I are going to be in the same district. That's what I want to know. I don't run again, but I know people over on my side that might, and I want to know if that district changes.
Which
District
one is
5, I
that?
believe.
Which one? Oh, you don't know for sure.
District 5.
No, what I'm asking is, do you know of these three choices? Do you know if that's the case with any of them?
I don't, and I can't
that's what-
seem to get the
so-
information off of the website. It doesn't work for me.
So why don't we go ahead then, if you'd like? I mean, it's up to you guys, not just me. If we want to wait and have them pull up our addresses and see if that's the case, or do you know that already?
I just, if we're gonna do that, let's just take a 10-minute break and do it. So we're not making.
Can it be done in 10 minutes?
Making Amy sit here for.
I can
an
do it in
hour.
10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, she's sitting here for an hour and a half
Okay.
waiting for us.
Okay, so let's take a 10-minute recess. Let's pull this out and then we'll come back together. Thank you.
You are.
Okay, I apologize.
Linda, can we ask a question? Can we ask Amy a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Is this just for school board or does it also affect voting for county commissioners or other
State
positions?
officials.
So these maps that you guys are looking at right now are only affecting the school district boundaries, the 7. However, I will be there are new district maps proposals that I will be taking before the Board of County Commissioners, but they have 5 districts and you have 7, so they don't follow each other.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? Did we find out what we needed to find out?
Linda, maybe even though no one's, and there are people online, maybe you can just discuss what you found in terms of the options and who's
Okay.
residing or whatever.
Yes,
That's why
okay.
we took a break, is to gather
That's
more
right.
information.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, Amy, why don't you go ahead and let us know what you found out about the 3 options.
So Carrie, who is in District 4, stays in District 4 for proposal 1, 2, and 3. Linda, who is in District 5, stays in her district in the proposed 1, 2, and 3. And these are the 3 that I was asked to look up. I did not look up all of them. District 7, Ross, who was concerned, I will say that he is on the line on all of these. So he was worried about neighbors. It really would be beneficial if your concern is a certain person's house besides yours to have gone on to the website and looked at it because you are on the line. However, your district changes for all 3 proposed maps. For number 1, you'd be in District 2. Number 2, you'd be in District 5, and number 3, you'd be in District 4. But on the line on all of them, so. And I want to thank John for helping me.
How about you, Rob? Did you have a change?
My district on option 3.
Only 3, okay.
So can we vote for 3?
All right, so now that we have our facts, do we want to have any more discussion about this?
That's not all of the board members. If nobody else is concerned, I've got my answer.
Okay. Do we have enough information? I guess I'll go first. I don't know. I like using the population data that she gave us. Proposal 1 has the most equitable where we're all more closely aligned to having the same amount of people that we represent. So I like that option but I don't know. What do you think? Somebody else?
I'll go next. The two most equitable would be option one or option two. They're very close in numbers. And that would be one of those would be my choice.
Anybody else want to weigh in on what they're thinking?
We're going to vote.
Ross, go ahead, Ross.
So according to her, it doesn't matter what map we choose, my district where I live is changed. Is that correct?
Yes. If we vote for one, your district becomes 2. If we vote for 2, your district becomes 5. And if we vote 3, your district becomes 4.
Who's the current in district?
2 is Rob, 5 is me, and 4 is Carrie.
Okay, all right.
Option, 1, 2, 3, okay.
Okay, so it really doesn't matter.
Doug, do you have anything you'd like to weigh in on?
Could you tell me which option was it that had Genoa and which ones that had Clear Creek?
I cannot, but maybe Amy can.
So in proposed map number 1, District 3, I assume you're talking about District 3, correct?
Yes.
District 3 picks up Genoa. In proposal number 2, it does not. It picks up the lower part of Centerville down to Highway 88 or over to Highway 88. And then in proposal 3, you pick up Clear Creek.
Okay, I guess my opinion would be, I don't think it matters, but I guess Clear Creek seems to be more homogeneous with the lake than the other ones. So I guess I would suggest that one, but I'm not sold on any one particular.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Heather, did you want to weigh in or have any feeling either way?
No, my district doesn't really change for any of them, and I think they all look okay.
Okay.
I do agree, maybe one that's more closer aligned would be, number 1 or number 2. But
Okay. And Tony, any feeling? Any comments?
Well, I like proposal 1. I think it's a better distribution because it takes District 2 and it adds more to it. So I like proposal 1.
Okay. Well, now we have that.
Well,
Rob,
So I
you had a
guess if
motion,
you want to
didn't you?
make a motion, somebody wants to make a motion.
So are people leaning towards one?
I don't know. You wanna
Make a motion that we adopt 1 for resolution, option 1.
I'll second that motion.
Sorry.
Okay, the motion was made. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. Oh, okay. Thank you. Who do we have there? Thanks, Superintendent Lewis.
But 1 maintains power.
Junior Starrett.
Who is it?
Virginia.
Virginia Starrett.
Okay, Virginia, go ahead, state your name for the record, please. Oh, Virginia, need to unmute yourself if you want to speak. Oh. Okay. Do we have somebody else that's ready to go?
Todd Poth.
Okay, Mr. Poth, you're on.
Hold on.
Hi there, guys. Todd Poth for the record. I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of any of these maps. I don't think anyone is. A couple things I had a couple questions. One, why are we stuck with 7 representatives? Could we go to 9 so that we could try to get the lake a little bit separate? Now, the only reason I say that is the lake is, like today, the lake didn't have any school today. All the other schools did. A 90-minute delay. I think it would be problematic or could be problematic if we had a representative that wasn't in the lake area. I'm not saying that's going to destroy the schools, but I think most people in the Lake area would like to have a representative from there, and with the proposals you got, there could be someone off the lake that could get elected. And then that's not necessarily fair for those people, or the person that might be in Genoa having to represent the lake. Just my 2 cents. I realize you guys are kind of in a time crunch. I got to say that's kind of frustrating, I think, for everybody involved, that it is such a time crunch, but there you go. I'm sure we'll all learn to live with it no matter what, but just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, just NRS 386-165, in the county school district in which more than, in which enrollment is over 25,000, shall establish 7 election districts. So I think it's governed by, the number is governed by statutes, in which there are more than 25,000 pupils, but not more than 75,000 pupils. Is that what we have? I don't.
No.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. Shoot.
Stretch it with 7 on it.
Well, it's still 7. I just got to find the thing in there. But you guys, I mean, it's basically, it's governed by statute. You can't
Okay.
just unilaterally
We just can't.
create it to 9 or whatever.
Okay, got it. All righty. All right. Any other public comment? Anybody on? No? Okay. And we'll bring it to a vote. A motion was made, a second.
Can I just make a comment really quick?
Sure.
Just, I think as each of us are, although we are voted in from a certain area, we are voted in by everyone, right? But we come from a certain spot.
Correct.
But I think we all represent everyone within all of the areas. And so, for example, when I go to visit schools, I don't just visit the schools where my district or my area goes to school, right? Like I go, I've been to the lake, I've been to Jacks Valley, I've been to, and so I think we just need to make sure that that's understood, that when we are voted in, we represent everyone. And so I think as long as we all continue to do that, the borders aren't really that, aren't that restricting. And so we just need to make sure that we remember as board members, we represent all the children and all of the community in all of the areas.
Thank you. That's a great comment. All right. That being said, any other comments? We'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Do I see? Yep. Okay. I think, anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. So far, we're going with proposal 1.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you next month.
Thank you, Amy.
Should have been easier than that for.
Wow, that was a lot, huh? Where are we at?
Let's do the minutes.
Do we go back to that? No, I think we have to do that at next public comment, don't we?
13.
On item 13, thank you. And Brian Frazier, Executive Director of Grants and Assessment and Accountability, will be speaking on this. Oh, I thought it was the next public comment. No?
After 5:30.
Okay, so we'll do it after this one.
Yes.
Yes, I
Then
do.
directly after the-
Right, okay.
or after.
You can open meeting violation.
All right.
Okay, I will speak before Brian does. Last month, we brought your calendar board policy 803 forward for a possible revision through public comment and board direction. We were directed at that meeting to go and conduct a survey to find out our community's feeling about starting later, and also the possibility of potentially adding 2 days on to the Thanksgiving break and taking that entire week off and eliminating the October break. We have done that survey, and we have the results of the packet, but Brian's going to quickly go through that for you. And then you'll see in front of you 803. I brought that back with a new try on that. So I'll turn it over to Brian first.
Just really just to orient you to the packet, there's just a quick summary on the discussion page. And then there's the responses. So all responses, there was 2,161 responses. How that played itself out according to just general. Did you like option B, A, or C the best? How would you rank them? And then disaggregating it by a resident of, so lake community, valley community. And then replying as a parent, a staff member and a parent, because we do have some employees that are both staff members, but also parents of students in the district. Replying as just a staff member, not a parent, a student, or a community, county, Douglas County community member. And so breaking those out according to how they were, how they responded. So parent, and then I combine both parent and then staff member parent responses to kind of give a feel for how that might look. Staff member responses on their own, and then combining that with staff member parent responses, and so on. The last 2 pages are just a copy of the survey itself, so you can see the general structure of how that looked when it went out. It went out electronically. This is just a paper copy of what that looks like. So just a quick summary up front. Question 2 provides the response tallies by population type, as I showed you. Question 3 by community membership. Most population type and community membership responses favored option B when filtered by respondent group. Option B was just selected most often with a rank of 1 or 2. And options A and C varied in their favorability when filtered by respondent group.
Yeah. I'm just gonna, I have a comment, but not a question. I
Okay.
think that I looked this over a lot. And it's a great survey. As I was surprised that the large majority of people want that calendar changed. They don't want to keep it as is. And the weighted category certainly drives us to option B, and without a doubt. But when I took the 8 categories and I split them apart, there were 4 of the categories that ranked the number 1, which was the most preferred, as B, and 4 categories that ranked number 1 most preferred as C. Just a thought. Interestingly enough, but I'm personally, I'm all about B.
Any other comments from the board? Rob?
When I look at this, you know, there's some argument in elections that you shouldn't, when you have multiple candidates, you shouldn't pick the number 1 candidate, but you should look at what most people choose as the second candidate. And that's actually gone into effect some places, because maybe more people can deal with number 2. But if you look at either their first choice or their second choice, option B is the winner. So I think it's clear. If option B was the first choice in rank 1, but was really poor in rank 2, and it was high on 1 and 3, then I think we'd have an issue. But seeing that it's high on 1 and 2, I think it's pretty clear.
Anyone else? Ross or Doug?
So with that,
Microphone.
Keith.
So the analysis of what Carrie and Rob just pointed out is driven what's before you tonight in terms of the revision for board policy 803. And the only change then truly to what is currently would be the statement that the calendars in the valley and the lake shall start and end on or about the same date, and then go into the shared holidays of which you've already outlined previously. So that would be the recommendation for the board moving forward on calendar, which then allows us to move forward as we need to do as a district to get these published for our community.
I just wanted to ask something about the first bullet. I mean, I think I get how it fits in there. That's not contradictory to the change.
I don't believe it is.
Redundant
I
or-
believe that the board has previously spoken that you desire to align on or about. In this case for next year, about would be approximately a week apart. So that has been a directive from the board. And so what this basically does is then it aligns the valley to that first statement. And that would be our intent moving forward, is that we would move the start date of the valley back 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So is there anyone that would like to make a motion?
Approve for first reading, board policy 803, school year calendar.
Okay, any public comment? Is there anybody online that wants to make a public comment, John? No, okay. I'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Brian, for your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Brian.
Okay,
For clarity, we'll move ahead with posting these so folks can start to know. Plus, we need to get our online registration up and running in January. So
thank you. Okay. We're
Um,
going to bring it back.
A news release would probably make sense on this one too. Just
we've got a lot to put in there because we've got 5 by whatever. It's going to hit a lot of things.
all right.
What we probably, before we do the news release, we're going to do a lot of the background, get working on that. Obviously, it's not official till you adopt it on the second reading in January, and then we will at that point then make an official, because you have officially adopted at that point. Tonight was
Okay.
just first reading. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to bring back the item that was pulled on the consent item. Sorry, I probably should have done this a little sooner. The minutes of the special board meeting. Item B. So we talked a little bit about this, about bringing back a motion on it, or someone was going to write something up.
Yep.
I wrote something up. If you
Okay,
want-
let's hear it.
I make a motion to include the comments made by Superintendent Keith Lewis immediately preceding the vote on item 4 at the November 22nd special meeting regarding school librarian Paul Jensen. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, but nobody seconded that.
Oh, I know. I thought you
Oh,
tabled
I
it to go now.
Is
So
that-
is that clear enough? If nobody's going to second it, then it dies. But I'm just bringing that up there, that if it's going to be part of a open
I'm
meeting
sorry.
thing, that to have it in the record, the written minutes makes sense to me. So
Carrie?
Not a second, but a comment. I still, that's one thing. And there could be 100 of those one things, and it could get to the point to where we're doing a full extraction of every word that is on video and available to the public, written down on a piece of paper, and very time consuming to our district staff. So for a specific thing like that, we just have to be careful how far we go with it. That's my
Okay.
comment.
Okay, but a motion was made and we need to know if anyone wants to second it. Okay, so we'll move on. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Madam President, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
During that, I had a chance to research the open meeting law on minutes, which it requires the board to keep written minutes, including in one category as any other information which any member of the public requests to be included or reflected in the minutes. So I think that your choices are, you can either include her entire statement or a sentence along the lines of what Trustee Engelkirk said. I think what Trustee Engelkirk said is a little bit incomplete because I think the discussion was about the video prepared by Mr., what's his name again? The librarian, Jensen. But that being said, there should be something to reflect what she's asking, because that's what the open meeting law does discuss.
So I just need a little clarification. So we can have a member of the public come up and tell us that they want us to write out to include something like this letter that she wrote or this thing that she wrote.
The statute says any other information which any member of the public body requests.
So that's a trustee.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
So
You're
that
right.
means now
Okay,
that
no, you're right. No, never mind. I'm sorry. I keep getting this wrong. As opposed to the general public. Okay. So never mind. Disregard that. I was thinking that you had to do one thing or another because a member of the general public requested. That's up in subsection D, and that's with respect to public comment. So the
and where is this again?
NRS 241035.
Okay.
1D involves the substance of remarks made by a member of the general public who addresses the public body. That's public comment. So I totally read that wrong, and I'm sorry. I apologize. I withdraw what I just said.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
So what I'm seeing here though is E1E says any other information which any member of the public body requests. So
That's
now that
you guys.
Doug has requested that this be included, it should be included by law.
We don't,
Right.
we don't make a motion and we don't vote on it.
Well, no, you would, if he wants to add it on there. I mean, that's why you guys do this exercise of going through minutes to amend your minutes to reflect accordingly.
Okay, so even though it says that he requested, it still has to be approved by a majority vote.
Yeah, minutes have to be approved by the public body itself.
I
So
see.
that's a
I
good
see.
catch. Rob's been my backup lawyer tonight. Thank you.
So therefore, if Doug made a motion, nobody seconds it.
Yeah.
Then that's the end of it, or do we have to?
Yeah.
And we're done?
So we still have to approve the minutes.
We still have to
You
approve
still
the
have to approve
minutes.
the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody would have to then make a motion to approve it as it is, right? Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion. Loudly. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes with the following changes, which I'll provide to, do we want to put these on the screen somehow?
You can share your screen with that. Well, it's not on your laptop.
Yeah. I'm gonna read it. I've asked Keith, Keith's okay with this, so I've got it written down. These are the following changes. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes with the following changes. At the top of our minutes, we include the statement, meeting minutes are created and provided to the public in accordance with NRS 241.035. They are not a word for word transcript of the meeting. Audio and video of some meetings are maintained on the district website for public review. And then prior to the line where the motion's carried, the following. Mr. Lewis asked Ms. Gilkerson if he could comment, and Mrs. Gilkerson's agreed. Mr. Lewis said that he wanted to clarify a few things that had been talked about in public comment and wanted to set the record straight on a video produced by an employee in regards to critical race theory. Mr. Lewis explained that there's no indication that a revision to social study standards in the state to include CRT is forthcoming, and that any changes involves a very long process that includes many opportunities for public comment. Mr. Lewis stated that Mr. Paul Jensen, the creator of the CRT video, never talked to district administration about his concerns prior to releasing the video and has rebuffed several offers to discuss the situation afterwards. Mr. Lewis explained the options that the CVMS librarian had to deny or replace a book the library received as part of a subscription. Mr. Lewis said that all teachers who were part of level 1 training were surveyed for their feedback on the book and methodology, and that was used in their training, and that 37 of 42 employees who responded had no concerns. Although only 5 teachers expressed some level of concern, Mr. Lewis reported that he had already directed staff to review the material and decide if it should be used in the future.
Is that your motion?
That's the motion.
All righty. Does someone want to? I know you didn't, but he'll provide it for you.
Can
I know.
I?
We need to have a second before we can discuss. Does anybody want to second this motion?
I guess I'm asking for a friendly amendment before.
Okay. Well, you gotta get a second.
We still have to second it, right? Okay. Does someone want to second the motion?
Doug is
Oh,
seconding it.
Doug, you're seconding it? Okay.
If I
Okay,
understand,
now.
John, you basically are asking to have what you read included in the minutes, correct?
Correct.
Yes, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we can discuss it.
My only point is, there's another section of that. I also addressed the professional development course that might still be incomplete if you're trying to get somebody,
The professional, that was the level 1 training, right?
No, there was an additional about the American Schools Counselor Association class.
Oh, yeah, I skipped the whole last paragraph.
Yeah,
You're
sorry
right.
about that. So,
I hit what I thought were all of our
points.
minutes.
Okay.
All of our minutes are like the highlights anyway. So that's what I tried to do.
So I guess we can go ahead and vote. All right, so we'll take a vote. Is there any? Are you okay? Okay, we'll go ahead. I know you're shaking. I know what you're doing over there. Okay. So we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of the motion and the second, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we have 6 that voted for it and 1 opposition, which was trustee Magnata. Okay, thank you. All right. Now, where are we? We are at, I believe, item 15. Is that correct? Yep. Item 15. Okay, we are doing the adjusted cohort graduation rate. And there you are, you're still there. Go ahead, Brian, thanks.
Again, I take you to just a quick summary document there up front. This is the data that's reported by the state. We worked to validate it with the schools prior to the reporting. For the graduation rate for the class of 2021, the class that just graduated here last June. So we have a graduation rate of 84.53, represents 399 graduates as laid out there. For the 472 students in the class of 2021, so there was an additional 73 students that were not part of the graduates themselves. That's how that breaks itself out. And then subpopulation student graduation rates, you'll see how those play themselves out too. By the way, the career and technical education students continue to do exceptionally well in graduation rate, and that's been pretty consistent over the years.
Sorry, what did you could you repeat what you just said? I didn't hear it. Of the something, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, the career and technical
technical, okay.
education students continue to have a very high graduation rate, just in general. That's pretty consistent across years. So the purpose today really is just to kind of give you, since there's so many new board members, I just want to kind of give you a quick overview of what the adjusted cohort graduation rate is all about and how it's basically calculated in itself. So there's the example that is given here is it's relatively basic math. So the ACGR is identified for students at the beginning of their 9th grade year. So for example, if we had, for the class of 2021, if we had 500 students that started the year in the graduating class of 2021 back in 2017 as 9th graders, and let's say we had 90 students that came in, that's the transfers in across those 4 years. So that would take us up to 590, but yet we lost through transfer out 80 students. That gives us a total population file basically of 420 students with a total population of 510. So if we had 420 of those students out of the 510 that graduated, we'd have roughly a graduation rate of 82%. So it's where are you starting? What's your population starting? How many students are you adding in across 4 years? How many students are you subtracting out across 4 years? That gives you your basically your population, your big N, and then your 420 students, how many students actually graduated then out of that class. So that's the general general calculations that are involved in the adjusted cohort graduation rate. So, and then graduates are defined by the college and career readiness diploma, the advanced diploma standard alternative, and the adult diploma. Those are considered graduates by definition. Okay. Oh, gotcha. So let's take this by just kind of population size. You can see here just pie wise, again, out of the 472 students in the class, 84%, 84.5% were graduates, roughly 15.5% non-graduates. So what does this look like? So let's look at it by diploma type. We had 184 standard diplomas, 179 advanced diplomas, 30 college and career diplomas, and 6 adult diplomas. You can kind of see that the bulk fall between your standard and your advanced diploma categories, with college and career and the adult taking up a smaller portion. Of the non-graduates, because we want to know what happens to all students. So we had 472 students in this population, 399 graduated, but we also ended up with 73 who did not. Where did they go? We had 3 students who continued on as 5th-year seniors. So they came back for at least that fall semester in after basically this fall semester of August to December of 21. There were 20 students that were part of completers, and I'll show you exactly what completers means. And then 50 students who were considered just straight dropouts, and I'll break that category off for you also. So completers, we had adjusted diploma students and high school equivalency, or HSE. Some folks might know it as like a, not GRE, GED, excuse me, the other G word. Okay, the GED, but it's a high school equivalency exam. So basically 8 and 12 of those students then were considered completers. In other words, they fulfilled that obligation. They didn't get something that indicated as a diploma. So an adjusted diploma, standard diplomas. The 50 students who were dropouts, we had 1 student who was withdrawn by the parent for unknown reasons. Vocational or technical, we had 1 student that went on to a voc ed program. 1 student that completed the HSE program but did not come up with that certificate, so they enrolled for that. We had 26 students who were whereabouts unknown. In other words, we had they left, they did not come back. We received no request for records, and efforts on the part of the school to track them down were unsuccessful. And then 21 students who completed 12 grades. In other words, they were here through June 3rd of 2021 through that class, but did not return. They could have come back as 5th-year seniors or pursued other options, but that's not what transpired with those folks. The part here that we really want to try to drill down is both the whereabouts unknown, in other words, what happened to students, and also completed 12 grades, why didn't they return, or what could we have done to have helped facilitate the returning and completing that a diploma pathway of some sort. So the class of diploma analysis, and I've given this to you across multiple years, ignore OYOG 2022, I'm just kind of getting out in front of myself. So for this year, you can again see the number of standard diplomas and number of advanced diplomas and how it compares with prior years. So you've got, between this year and last year, while there are fewer standard diplomas and fewer advanced diplomas by percent, you'll also see that our college and career readiness diploma percentage went up. That criteria is greater than an advanced diploma. It builds on. So you start with standard, you go to advanced, you then go to your college and career readiness diploma as far as criteria to achieve that diploma type. So what we truly want to see is the orange standard shrink over time and the advanced blue and the college and career ready diploma to increase, because those are the more rigorous diploma types, providing students with additional both opportunity but also recognition of their achievements over the course of 4 years. So that would be the ideal. Shrink your orange, increase your blue, ultimately really increase your purple options from there.
Do you have a question? Okay.
Yeah. Fire away.
Just because this is one of the state standards
Mhm.
or the state goals is to get that college and career up. And I know Keith has kind of mentioned this, but I wanted to kind of just have a little bit of a discussion about it. I've had a son graduate last year and one the year before. And I know from the time they were freshmen, when we go in and we talk to the counselors and we try and figure out what diploma they, what they should be striving for. I was under the impression that college and career, that one was never even brought up. And I know that Keith has mentioned that and talked about, we do need to make a shift there. So I guess my first question is, what additional things are needed to get the college and career above the advanced?
From on a student basis?
Yes.
Okay, well, you're going to split it into two parts. So there's three possible options with it, but it's split into two parts. So you have a college certification or a college diploma, which means that students are basically, and I'm going to use the word tracked, but that's just a lowercase t, we're not tracking students. So it's basically tracked towards college. So it involves more in the way of honors courses, AP courses, and so on. On the flip side of that is a career track. So students might get that way by, and there's a whole laundry list of them, so I'm not going to be able to jot it off the top of my head, but the ASVAB, taking the ASVAB test, completing CTE courses and certificate components, and also in addition to that. With that, there's a slightly higher grade point average, as I recall, beyond the advanced diploma. And there is also, what else was I just thinking?
SAT or
the ACT.
The ACT,
score, right?
exactly right. So on the college one, it has met those criteria for entering
I
college.
guess my
prepared, so.
question would be, do we have several students getting the advanced diploma that actually qualified for the college and career ready diploma because they had a high enough ACT? And when Rami and I looked at it, it was the same number of advanced classes, I believe, and honors classes. And, that I'm just wondering if we actually looked at the data, if some of those advanced kids actually qualified and that our number might be higher for career. I don't know. I'm curious.
Well, again, we rely upon what the sites put in. So that's all I
Right.
can tell you, is the data show that these are the numbers of students that achieved each one of these diplomas.
So it just goes from what the counselor puts in and what type of diploma they received. That's where your data.
That's the data that's officially in Infinite Campus by student. So there's a drop down selection of Jimmy received a standard diploma,
Right.
Susie received an advanced diploma, and so on down the line.
Okay.
And so those are coded into the student information system by student at the time of graduation. And that's the numbers that we then extract, and it's part of that record.
Right.
So hypothetically, I guess you could be accurate, but I also trust what
don't have the data
what the sites actually put in and what the students have been awarded at graduation.
Okay. So basically it just comes down to the fact that we need to make that more of a focus. And I know Keith has talked about that we're going to move that direction. Okay. Thank you.
And on that, it's also an administrator training. So I think that, again, systemically, what you have believed is what a lot of us have believed, is that the advanced was the highest option. And so we're already having those conversations. Those have begun. And again, the training and because what you're saying is what we're hearing is that that's not a discussion that's happening in those initial career meetings. So.
And in fairness, Heather, the CCR diploma is relatively new.
That was my other question. How long has that one been?
And I want to say 2 years. I think this was the third year. I'll show you here on a slide moving forward because I have it tracked backwards.
Okay.
But it's relatively new in the scope.
Uh-huh.
But yes, to what Keith was saying and what you've kind of proposed too, is that while that is new, we need to increase the awareness of and then provide students the opportunities to achieve to those levels also.
So if I can make one more comment on
Sure,
that, then I
please.
guess I would say, because that was part of that freshman discussion when we went in as a parent with our freshman kid, that I think we just need to make sure this next year we're doing it all the way up through seniors to to let them re-choose if they want to change. You know what I mean? Like my kids chose as a freshman, I want this diploma. And then it just kind of stayed there. That just in those talks, maybe we need to go all the way up through seniors and what diploma would you like? Let me tell you about this newer one or whatever, you know, just to make sure that's a part of the discussion.
I think there really is an opportunity to map out the various scenarios with students. As you're saying, you're coming in as ninth grade and you want to try to, front load and provide students with the greatest depth and breadth of opportunities that can possibly be there. And then as you're right, it's refining it as a 10th grader, 11th grader, and 12th grader, using that academic plan to what have you achieved?
Right.
Where are you right now? What does this provide you as opportunity, both diploma wise, but also certainly skills wise when they graduate, whether it's a college bend or whether it's more of a career bend. We want the kids to have their opportunities when they graduate and to have as much recognition of that and certification of that when they graduate themselves. So the academic plan helps to drive that.
Right.
And again, that's a refinement situation of being able to, how does that overlay with where you are? So standard or advanced or college and career and so on, how does that overlay with where you are at any given point in time?
Right.
So I wouldn't expect a 10th grader to have achieved the American government standard, obviously, because that would be a 12th grade item, but we're able to see, are you on track with your English and your math and so on? Have you taken CTE courses? Are you heading that way? Are you starting to take AP courses or honors courses and going that direction? So.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Fire away.
I just wanted to know, are these diplomas, is this a nationwide or is this just for Nevada?
That is Nevada.
Okay, so when a student graduates and is applying to colleges, they may not recognize what college and career ready diploma would be a more advanced than an advanced diploma?
Well, I think if they're looking at their transcripts, some of that's going to play out that
Okay,
way based on the courses that they're taking. And then
Right.
also the certifications or the, it's not symbols. All I can see is
By literacy with the seal.
seals. Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm starting to gap. So, but basically there's seals and so on that go on there. So
Right.
get kind of back to Heather's question earlier is when you do the CCR diploma, you actually have three types. You can have a college certification, a career certification, or both. I mean, if there was a student who was both, AP and honors, and in addition to that, also doing something along the lines of the CTE, they might get that college and career diploma with college and career certifications. That is unique. I believed in Nevada. There are probably other states that have similar types of things, since there is a great push with workplace readiness, college and career CTE, and so on. So.
Mine's off this subject a little bit, but.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Mine's off this subject a little bit. It's a little bit a dumbed down question, but the dropout, or you've been doing this for a lot of years and there's 50 dropouts and, half of those or less than half of those, but a lot of those are unfindable. Is that a higher number? And could it be contributed to what's been going on as far as COVID? And
Yeah, I think if you look actually right here on this screen here, I anticipated your question. No, I didn't, but it's ironic that the screen came up that way. No, if you look at the dropouts, you can see that it's hovered, which is the bottom row there, or one of the bottom rows. It's hovered in that 20 to 30 range for the past 5 years.
Okay.
Having it jump to 50 is significant.
Yes.
I can't tell you exactly why, but I have to believe that the pandemic has played a part
Especially
with
the
that.
21 that didn't come back.
Right. Both with the class of 20 and the class of 21, more significantly with the class of 21 because they had a full year.
Right.
But to just have kids walk out, just one
all the
being
way.
done. So you had, I think it was 21 students that just completed their year. They completed 12 years and which they can do, and then they're done. But they had nothing to show for it as far as the diploma is concerned. And then to have 26 that just dropped out
Yes.
is, yeah,
Significant, yeah.
I would, and our sites are good at following up with that. I mean, if they go to another school perchance or another program, they're going to request the records. And so our folks would get those records, go back in and change that withdrawal code. So right now the withdrawal code that indicates this is tracked to a dropout. They'll go back in and double check and change that withdrawal code to, whatever it happened to be. They left the state and went to Tallahassee to continue their 12th grade year or whatever it happened to be. So, but it's large.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so here on this particular screen just kind of shows you the class of graduation cohort analysis, the number of completers that we've had, the number of students that were still enrolled as fifth-year seniors. That's been relatively steady, at least since about 2 years ago. And then our number of graduates. So while we're down across the last few years, the overall graduation rate for Douglas is still higher than the state, but obviously not where we want it to be. When I look at 84% or 84.5%, if you look at that, it's roughly 15 kids out of every 100. And we don't want to look at kids in kindergarten and say, which 15 of you are not going to graduate? We want all of them to graduate with something, so that when they leave, they have those skills and those opportunities to move forward. So just compiling data, just kind of throwing some other charts up there for you so you can kind of see how things looked over about a 5-year window, which I think gives us a rough idea where things are. So you can see your graduation rate by school. Douglas High especially seems to be relatively stable. Again, has dropped off because they have the largest population this past year. We now have DNO, our online school. So we had students that roughly had a 65% graduation rate in the class of 2021. And then also our Aspire program is graduating students, and Whittel has done very nicely. This past year, 100% of the graduates, 22 of the students that they had were graduates, and our adult program then too.
About the adult program?
You sure can.
Just because I'm not seeing good results there.
Mhm.
Can you explain a little bit about that, of why we're not graduating people from there and how people are getting involved in that?
I will
Rami
give you
might be-
some input unless Rami wants to jump in. My input on it is truly, I think it's people who are coming back to get an adult diploma. It's not, the environment is not as structured as what one would find in K-12. They are there. We have folks that are dedicated to providing that assistance, but we rely upon those folks to show up and complete work. Rami has probably some more insight into that. I count the numbers. She really works with them.
I don't disagree with Brian's assessment. It's just adult clients are different. They have a lot of other, reasons for not coming regularly. And we have some adult clients that it takes them years. We just graduated one last year that had been coming to our adult program for 4 years to get through what it took for her to graduate. And that's pretty typical. So the state has changed the way they measure the success of our adult programs more by smaller chunks. So as a program, we're awarded points, for lack of a better way to put it, for small things like course completion. Did they pursue a high school equivalency? A lot of them will come in to work towards their high school equivalency, also known as the GED, typically is how we recognize it. We don't use GED, that's a product. We use a different product, but and so we get points for all these little steps. So we try to keep them coming back so that ultimately our goal is to get them the high school diploma, but some don't want that. Some just want the high school equivalency, but so it's not, I don't know, and it's hard. Pre-pandemic, their employers in our community didn't stop requiring their employees to have a high school diploma. And so prior to that, we used to get a lot of clients out of like Starbucks or even Bentley GE before it changed names to whatever it is now, but because they would require folks to come to our program to get their diploma. They'd offer them incentives. Now in our current workplace, that there's no incentive. So we're really now more than ever seeing fewer and fewer clients coming to us because there's not that need in our community to have that high school diploma. So we were getting a lot more clients. So it's an interesting place to be. And I hope that's probably more information than you really wanted. But thank you.
Yes, Tony.
Is there any ratio that's attached to a student that graduates and then goes into the trades? Is there a certain sector?
I guess Tony, I'm not understanding the question. I'm sorry.
Okay, so if someone gets an equivalency diploma, would they be more apt to go into a trade?
We don't necessarily track that information. Okay, so like a student that received, which wouldn't be a diploma, but if they had their HSE, the GED type of certification, I don't know if they would go off into a trade. I'm not quite sure where their opportunities are. As Rami was mentioning, for both our, adult, which is a diploma, but some of our students will say come out without diplomas themselves. There might be trades available for additional training opportunities. I wish that some of the students would take advantage more of the CTE types of things where they could actually get some additional focus training that might interest them and be able to come out with certifications and or at least base skills that would set them off, all things being equal, from anybody else in a similar situation.
Any other questions? If not, thank you, Brian, for your time.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, we'll move on to item 16. It's again, Joe Gerdner. We're going to talk about, excuse me, designation of positions at critical shortage needs.
So this has essentially become a standing item.
It has.
As I've shared in the past, it's an especially large challenge when we have staff resign during the middle of the school year for us to fill those positions. So the two positions that I'm bringing forward tonight are elementary reading specialist and school counselor positions as critical shortage. Both positions have recently been vacated and both are difficult to fill anyway. Therefore, we request that the board approve these two positions as critical shortage positions.
Any questions? Thank
I think we should do this.
Your motion?
That's my discussion.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that the board approve the requested positions for critical shortage.
I need a second. Okay, is there any public comment? No, okay. Any other comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Item number 17 is also Joe Gerdner.
It is also me and the Mike Ashton is going to come and
great.
present this topic as the godfather of the Health Advisory Committee.
It's the DCSD self-funded health insurance stop loss insurance renewal. Thank you. All righty.
Good evening, Mike Ashton with the Health Advisory Committee. It's good to see you tonight. This was probably the easiest decision we had to make all year as a Health Advisory Committee. Looking at the renewal quotes from Voya, a 20% increase was rather steep with a very damaging laser. So looking at the other options, granular became a no-brainer with a 3% reduction with similar levels, well, the same level of stop loss coverage of $250,000 and one laser that is significantly smaller and something we can live with as a committee. So as a committee, we would advise the board to go with the granular no-brainer stop loss insurance.
Okay, any questions? Okay, Carrie.
I look at obviously a lot of them declined to quote, but I look at all the names on there and I don't know them all, but I certainly don't know granular. You have history that you can share?
I can speak to that a little bit. Granular is a brand new company. Actually, it's backed by Google. LP has done research on the company and the backing and feel confident that it is a strong company that we can go with. But it is brand new, and that's why you haven't heard of it. It does have deep funding being backed by Google.
Hence the great rates too.
Correct.
Potentially,
Yes.
build a clientele, and I get it.
And part of that is to get established in the insurance company. They have to provide rates that are attractive so they can then build that revenue and become a player in that industry.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ross or Doug? No? Okay, anybody else on the board? No?
Motion.
Okay,
I make a motion that we authorize Joe Gardner, Executive Director of Human Resources, to approve a contract for excess stop loss insurance for the district's self-funded health insurance plan with Granular at a stop loss deductible level of $250,000 with a $500,000 lasers presented on a 24/12 contract basis. Funding to come from the self-insured health insurance fund.
okay, motion was made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Carrie. Is there any public comment? None? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing not, the motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thank you, board.
Okay, item number 18 is the superintendent goal setting, and it'll be presented by our superintendent.
All right, so tonight, before you, in your red folder, you want to grab it out. Last month, you conducted my first evaluation. So in the sequence of our process, then December, I bring before you my recommended goals. Certainly you have input as a board prior to approving those. And so we can either approve it tonight or you can give me direction and come back in January as well. So I broke it down into 5 goals. There are certainly things that we should continue. That is a continuation of my previous goal. Looking at student growth and achievement, my goal 2 is organizational leadership, human resources management, district operations and financial stewardship, and then communications and community relations. I think obviously you can read and I can certainly open it up for questions, but I think one of my highest priorities in the upcoming year is to ensure that our district strategic plan is a living document. It has, with the pandemic, has not been at the forefront of the work that we're doing. And so that would be a priority for myself and my staff, is to reconvene the district's strategic planning team and to get that document. That was a document that was towards the end of Terry's tenure as superintendent. It is, I don't believe it's a start over, but it is certainly an evaluation and making tweaks to it that you obviously would have some input on. As well, there is new school performance plan processing, and now that moves on to the district level. And so that will be important work that we do as a district to identify and develop a district performance plan. That would really be a true development from the ground up. Again, in terms of academic achievement, some of the conversations that we've had tonight and Heather highlighted in terms of what the state's goals. Number 4 is that I provide leadership ensuring that on an annual basis, every DCSD student learns, district achievement grows, graduation rates increase, and more students graduate with college and career diplomas. And so in all of those, you could make an argument, should there be a percentage on it? I think all of those are measurable because either we grow or we don't. Our achievement improves or it doesn't. And so I truly do think those are measurable goals without an arbitrary, we're going to improve by 5% because that sounds good. Obviously, our goal is for every student to grow, that our graduation rates, we're in the business of graduating students. And we want that rate to increase, which obviously, as Brian kind of just explained, that has a lot of different facets to it that we come to that number. So that's kind of the academic goal. Number 6, again, is our continued focus on professional development, continuation of professional learning communities, and then obviously a collaborative culture amongst our staff. Number 7 was my last goal. Your direction was that in-person learning is what we desire. Unfortunately, we find ourselves still in the middle of the pandemic. At some point, hopefully this will go away, but I think it's important that continue to be a goal, that we remain in-person instruction while again, following the directives and minimizing risk to staff. Number one's a little bit similar on the professional development under organizational leadership. Again, I think as you know, situations occur across the country, and you know, we're doing some reorganization in our educational services. Melissa Raines has an impending retirement of January 21st. You had approved the hiring of Shannon Brown. And we are already beginning those discussions of what that looks like. But I think that we need to continue to make sure that our emergency operation procedures are at the forefront of what we do, that we develop district-wide behavioral threat assessments. And so really a focus on that health, that safety of our schools under that second goal or the second objective under goal 2. And then again, at every opportunity, and the board expressed that last year, you know, what are we doing to grow our own? What are we doing to ensure that we're developing our next future assistant principals and principals and our next executive directors as we get to the end point of our careers? Number one under priorities under goal number 3, I think, again, there's been some talk to it. I really believe, and we've had some initial meetings, that we need to put some resources into marketing, branding, and communications plan. I mean, we've begun some outreach to marketing firms to, you know, how are we branding DCSD as we go into Epic Learning? Also, how are we branding our community for prospective teachers? And so it's multifaceted. How are we selling ourselves? I truly believe that if we're not out selling ourselves, then someone else is going to, they're going to create the message for us. We're seeing a little bit of that right now. And I think we need to get out in the forefront of all the wonderful things that we're doing so that our community knows that. And also, as I said, in our hiring and recruiting efforts too, we live in a beautiful place. There's a really great school district, and how are we doing in terms of branding? So that would be a priority of mine as well. As somebody said, obviously, again, continuing to analyze with Joe leading that front, but our recruiting, those efforts, how are we getting that? I think there's a lot of validity to, you know, how do we look at housing? We know that's one of our main hurdles for people coming to this district, is the ability to find housing affordable. And how can we look at that differently long-term and start developing some plans on that. Moving on to district operations and financial stewardship. Again, one of my main jobs, and obviously your job also, is the fiscal responsibility to our district. And again, looking at, I think we've done a good job. Terry started a lot of this good work in always looking at how we're doing business and are we doing it effectively? And so doing an analysis of our business services and our operations for long-term planning. Obviously, that is, I think, on all of our mind with the pupil-centered funding plan and the potential that we could be stagnant for increased revenue, and having the ability to make sure that we're doing a good job of adequately planning for the future with intentional decision-making on that. Again, we talked about safety and security of all schools, number 3 on that. And again, I was proud of Phil's presentation tonight. We're getting a lot done for the money that we have in capital projects, and projects are being successful. But again, that'll never go away. They could give us $1 billion and we still wouldn't have enough to do that. Then in communications and community relations, we talk about marketing, branding there again. And then again, I think that as you highlighted in my evaluation, I think that's the type of leader I am, that communication is something that I do prioritize. Obviously, I know the value of it, of keeping you apprised and keeping our staff apprised and our community apprised. And so a lot of those are the same that we have always done. The communication meetings, the employee group meetings, town hall meetings, and just generally being accessible to our stakeholders and to the school community. So I welcome your input.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything they'd like to, or any questions or comments? I'll take it to Ross or Doug. Okay, go ahead, Doug.
On the first one, number 5 there, where you talk about accelerate the closing, of the achievement gap. Those kind of things concern me because are we trying to just have everybody at a mediocre level? Or are we trying to bring the people up at the bottom up to a higher standard? I guess I just have a comment on, when I see that written, I don't really like the sound of it because it makes it sounds like we're trying to just have equity of outcome rather than equity of opportunity.
So Doug, I don't think that any of us believe in equity of outcome. We certainly believe in equity of opportunity. We would never strive for mediocrity of any group. And so that would be to raise the bar for all students, and especially those students in our special, our subpopulations, our IEP, our ELL students, and to raise that achievement gap where they typically lag behind their typical. But again, it's the opportunity. You know, I liken it, I guess the analogy I liken it to is, you know, if you have a student that doesn't have legs and they're required to do a 100-yard dash, we provide them a wheelchair. That doesn't mean that they're going to get there at the same time, but they have the opportunity to do the 100-yard dash. And I think that's our philosophy. And I think when a lot of people hear equity, they think that we believe that everyone should get an A, and we believe in equity of opportunity, not of outcome. So hopefully
Okay.
that answers the question.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If not, okay. I guess this is a possible action if someone wants to make a motion. Is anybody still here? Ross will do it. Go ahead, Ross.
Okay, so what we're doing is just approving his goals. Is that what you're
Correct.
looking for? Okay,
Yes.
I'd make a motion to approve the goals as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Okay, we are going to go into closed session.
I make a motion that the board recess to closed session in order to discuss matters with its management representatives pursuant to NRS 288.2204.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, is there any public comment? Seeing none, a vote. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We're in closed session. Thank you. John? Okay. Okay, we're back in session. 8:30. We are on item number 20. Agreement between Douglas County School District and Douglas County Professional Education Association. It's going to be discussed by Joe Gardner. You're on.
Thank you, President Gilkerson. Mike Ashton, the member from DCPA EA is here to join me for our presentation. Darcy McGinnis is in the back there. She refused to come up to the table, but she was also a member of DCPA's team. And so we will quickly share with you the tentative agreement that we've come to with our Professional Educators Association. This was a financial reopener for compensation exclusively. And so the tentative agreement that we came to was, first of all, the $1,075 bonus that you as a board approved earlier this school year to appreciate our employees for all that they've done for the district, specifically through the hardship of COVID. The second piece of that is a salary schedule increase of 0.5%, which will be retroactive to August 1st, 2021. 0.25% of this increase will cover the 2021 PERS increase. The other 0.25% will be an increase on the base salary. The other piece of this agreement is that the district agreed to step and column increases for 2022-23 school year and the 23-24 school year. And then the last bullet on that point or on this page is that We've agreed as a group to form a committee every time there is an increase or decrease in the PERS contribution rate, so we can discuss how we address that going forward or at that change at that time. Any questions on this page? Mike, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add on that page. Second page is our group insurance. As discussed last month in our proposal from the Health Advisory Committee, the $70 increase to insurance premium was also part of that compensation package as discussed last month.
Okay, and then the last page is the cost of the agreement. The 1,075 bonus, cost of that for the district is $393 and $393,450. I struggle with math. Mike should really take over from here.
Okay, I will. The 0.5% salary increase is about $150,000 cost. The step and column do have some potential confusion regarding previous agreements and cost of step and column for 21-22, and then our agreement to add step and column for 22-23 and 23-24 in this round of negotiations. And that annual cost is around $300,000. We can kind of think if that's the annual cost, then for the next 2 years that we've agreed on, future costs of about $600,000. And then the $70 a month health increase of about $300,000 to our health fund just from the Teachers Association. So any questions from the board for Joe or I?
Anybody have any questions? Ross and Doug still on? Do you guys have any questions?
I'm still on, no questions.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make a comment and say thank you to Mike and Darcy for staying so long for your part in being patient as we've gone on tonight. So thank you.
All right, so do we have a recommendation or someone want to make a motion?
Yep, I will.
Thanks, Ross.
I move to approve the agreement with Douglas County Professional Educators Association for 2021 through 2024.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, second by Heather. Any comments from the public? No? Okay, we'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Excuse me. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
I'd like to thank Mike and Darcy and
Darcy.
Robin as well for all their work they do for their association in the school district. Mike and Darcy, I think, are on pretty much every committee that there is in the district that their association needs to represent. So thank you to both of you and Robin as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 21, meet and confer agreement with classified supervisors and professional employees. Joe?
So yes, thank you. With this one, I can cover the ground a little bit quicker. The financial agreement's the same. They have the bonus, the 0.5% increase, the step and column increase. Sorry, I apologize. And then the increase to the health insurance, the district health insurance fund. There is some language changes for them as well. Most of our groups have had this added to their language. Our confidential secretaries have not had this. And that is that they have had the sick leave, unused sick leave buyout, but they did not have the benefit that could go to their beneficiary if they passed away during service to the district. Good work, Keith. The other thing, the other language change is we're increasing the number of paid vacation days they can roll over each year. It has been 25 days. We'd like to increase that to 35 days if you're in agreement with that. The cost of this agreement for the
Supervisors, I thought.
The wording was, you're right.
So I'm out of order. I apologize. No, I was out of order.
Made the public
Bye, Mike.
mad.
One more click.
There we go.
Okay, so I apologize. I was talking, go back, Keith. I misspoke. Oh, okay, so I apologize. I had my notes out of order here. So classified supervisor, the compensation is the same. The language change is around their personal leave. The change is in restriction of when they can use it. Historically, they have been restricted from taking personal leave the first 10 days and the last 10 days of the school year. We recommend that we change that to the first and last 5 days. We've done that with most groups already. And then the other change is that they would be paid out for accumulated personal leave that they would not be able to roll over at 100% rather than 51%. Any questions on that? Sorry, I made it confusing by talking about the wrong group.
That's okay. Any questions, comments? Okay, we'll bring it. Someone want to make a motion?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'd move to approve the agreement with Douglas County classified supervisors and professional employees for 21 through 24.
Okay, motion made, second. Carrie seconds it. Any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, seeing there's none, we'll go ahead and bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, 22.
So now we should be to confidential employees. So you hear this one twice. We can go ahead and skip to the third slide because we've covered compensation. Keep going. We've covered this. Who's in charge here? All right, so this is the language where we'd like to add that their beneficiaries can receive their payout for unused sick leave. And we'd also like to increase their ability to roll over 30 days rather than 25 days for vacation time. The cost of this agreement is on the next page. For the bonus, it's $4,300. For the salary increase, it's $1,432. Step and columns, $2,433, and health insurance is $3,360. Any questions on confidential employees?
Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and.
Madam Chairman, I'd move to approve the agreement with the Douglas County confidential employees for 21 through 24.
I do. Second by Rob. Any public comment? None. Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye, raise your hand. Thank you. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We're on to item number 23. Thank you.
So our agreement with Douglas County administrators is simply financial. It's the same as the other, the bonus, the 0.5 increase, step in columns, and the $70 increase for health insurance. The cost of that agreement is approximately $26,000 for the bonus and approximately $15,000 for the 0.5 salary increase. Step in columns would come to approximately $20,000 and health contributions $21,000. Any questions regarding our administrators agreement?
Seeing none, we need a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd move to approve the agreement with the Douglas County Administrators Association for 2021 through 2024.
Okay, Tony seconded it. Do we have any public comment? Okay, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none. Motion passes 7-0. Item 24.
Thank you.
I'm going to take number 24. This is an agreement, meet and confer agreement with my executive staff, DCSD district cabinet. As we have agreed Oops, just a sec, I'll let John get it up here on there on the screen. It's blue.
Cabinet.
Cabinet. Okay, as we have agreed with other employees, $1,075 bonus, a 0.5% salary increase, which will include the 0.25% portion of the PERS contribution rate increase. District will pay step and column increases for 2022-23 and 23-24, and the health insurance premium will go up to up $70 to $705 per month. The other agreement is that we will move our assistant directors from the site administrator salary schedule to the district level administrator's salary schedule. This adjusts their contract length from 222 days to 260 days. Actually, this does result in a approximately $40 to $45 reduction in their daily rate, but they will have access to paid vacation as a trade-off. The financial package for the bonus would be $6,450. The 0.5% salary increase is $4,956.23. The step and column increases is approximately $12,988. $70 insurance premium increase is $5,040. The restructuring to the assistant directors would be $12,322 for a total projected cost of $41,700.23.
Seeing none. Someone like to make a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the agreement with the superintendent's cabinet administrators for 21 through 24 as presented.
Okay.
You guys getting a
Rob
good laugh,
seconded
are
it?
you?
They're trying to beat you to the
I
motion
know.
and
It
you're
was
too
my
fast.
Okay, and is there any public comment? Seeing none? Okay.
I'm on overtime.
Oh, so in the presentation, it's, thank you, Karen, should be 2022-23 and 2023-24.
Very
All
good.
right. Okay, let's bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Superintendent Lewis. Item 25 is prioritizing agenda, possible items for future board meetings. We do have right now 4 items on there. Anything we want
I
to
would like
add?
Propose something.
Go ahead.
Are you saying to me, Linda, or? it was for
Yeah,
me?
no, go ahead. I'm sorry, Doug. Go ahead, Doug.
Okay. In response to comments made by Denise Baronio at the public comments at the November 22nd meeting, where she said her 5th grade daughter was asked the survey question that we removed from the survey in the spring about gender identity, and also that Denise was not advised that the survey was happening so she could opt out. I would like to bring it up for discussion and possible action at a future meeting before the survey is presented again.
We already do that. We
yeah.
already talked about that and it goes out now. We already did that one.
I know, and it was still asked again.
No, her daughter is a junior in high school now.
Her stepdaughter, excuse me.
Oh, her stepdaughter.
I don't know
When
that
did
that's would be a future. I mean, I don't know. Is that something you can bring as a future?
Because it was
item?
parents were notified. We all.
I can tell you
got
parents
the
were
email.
notified as we
I
were
got the email.
directed to do.
So that might be something that maybe she needs to bring forth and talk maybe one-on-one with Superintendent Lewis. Has she approached you, Keith, at all about that? No. Doug, did she approached you with this?
Brought it up in public comment, and then I asked her about it for clarification at the last meeting, and she confirmed it to me, but I don't know if she's talked to anyone else. But I mean, we had in the spring, we brought this question up and we removed question 4, and it was not even supposed to be for kids under 9th grade. And she says it was asked to her stepdaughter in 5th grade at Scarcelli, I believe.
I think this would be something maybe that, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, maybe I'm speaking out of turn. If that's a future item you want to bring up, you can say that. That's fine.
Okay, well,
Yeah, we need to have a second for it.
Okay.
I've got one.
Okay, Rob?
Just make sure you clarify for Doug that no one else.
Doug, no one else had seconded that, so that will not happen.
I understand.
Sorry.
I won't take it
Okay.
personally. I'll get
But you
over
know
it.
what? But I do have to say that I'm curious about that myself, just for myself. So I
So you can second it then.
Anyways.
I'd like, this will be interesting. I'd like a future agenda item on how we handle future agenda items. Meaning this process that we're doing right now. Is there a limit on how many? When I got onto the board, I was told that you could only do 2 per meeting, but it looks like that was maybe just tradition and not actually codified anywhere. I also think there's a few things we could add to it. So it just how do we handle future agenda items?
Okay. Does anyone want to second that?
I'll second that one.
Okay, seconded by Heather.
Yeah, I can work.
You're talking about
we can
looking at a policy for how do we handle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my second one, during our whole, we were instructed that when books and such go into the library, there's a policy for rejecting books, switching books, blah, 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 blah. I would like an agenda item and maybe a policy on how that's reported when books are de-shelved, when books are swapped, when books are denied. Who's that reported to? How does that happen? Should that be reported to the board? I'd like to talk about that.
Okay. And does anyone want to second that one?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, seconded by Trustee Chichester. Okay. Anything else?
Can I ask just clarification on that?
Sure.
So Rob, you would like us to at first do a presentation on what that looks like?
Yeah.
If in kind of how the collection is weeded, and maybe even on both, we'll just give kind of an overall presentation on
Yeah,
even
and
how we purchase and how we make
and
determinations.
if someone
of-
changes it, does that go to you? Does that go to curriculum? Like, is that just is there a report? So,
Are these library books you're talking about or just,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
strictly library? Okay.
Okay, I think we
All
got it.
right, perfect. All right, anything else? If not, we'll move to our last public comment. Is there anyone in the audience or anyone online that would like to speak? Seeing. For real? Oh. Okay, thank you. Casey, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you go ahead and please state your name for the record?
Casey Rogers for the record.
Thank you.
As the end of this year closes out and as a member of this public that you serve, I just wanted to let you know how grossly you have served your teachers, staff, and students over the COVID-19 pandemic, fake pandemic, actually. With a 99.97% survival rate, you have contributed to a lie. The superintendent and board members seen extra funds, namely the American Rescue Plan and the like, for this county. And you either blindly accepted it or you knowingly accepted it and contracted with the devil, taking away a parent's choice for what their children can do with mask mandates and such like that. But either way, you contributed to a false pandemic. This is crimes against humanity. Not only did you allow vaccine centers on your school property, you allowed a non-vaccine to take place on your premises. The Nevada System of Higher Education under Health, Wellness, and Prevention, dated July 27, 2021, specifically stated there is currently no vaccine for coronavirus after they mandated a vaccine for coronavirus. Isn't that the irony? That is so ironic to me, or it's just a blatant lie. It's just a blatant lie. If you choose to continue in this false pandemic, may God help you all. Children 5 years and older are now able to receive this non-vaccine, actually this gene therapy, which is what it should be called, and that is unacceptable. I implore you to cease now. You are our local government that you were voted in to vote and make choices for your students and staff that actually make sense. It's a 99.97% survival rate. However, you are following false doctrine produced by the CDC. I will ask you again to stop. Take off your masks and start fighting for your community. 2021 is over.
Calling in. Thank you. Almost 8:55 and meeting is adjourned. Thank you.